My name was already on the last page, not printed, signed. The L in Leah slanted too far forward, and the loop in Mercer closed like a little noose. But it was mine if you didn't know me. Mine if you were a nurse trying to discharge 6 people before lunch. Mine if you were my mother who stood beside the window folding my father's pajama bottoms into a canvas grocery bag as though none of this required explanation. I didn't sign that, I said. Vanessa stopped winding Dad's phone charger around her fingers. The discharge coordinator looked from me to the form. This is the caregiver acknowledgement. It was completed this morning. I can see what it is. That isn't my signature. Mom shut the bag with one hard snap. Oh, for heaven's sake. Vanessa filled it out because you were running late. She signed my name. She had your permission, Mom said. No, she didn't. Dad sat on the edge of the rehabilitation bed wearing khakis that hung loose around his waist. He looked smaller than he had the day before, but angrier. Can we not turn this into a federal case? Vanessa finally met my eyes. She looked annoyed, not guilty. Then Mom stepped between us, facing the coordinator. She is the daughter we trust, she said, touching Vanessa's arm. She would never do anything to hurt her father. 3 weeks earlier, nobody had used the word trust. They used words like temporary, mild, encouraging, and lucky. Dad had been standing at the kitchen counter complaining that Mom bought the wrong mustard when the jar slipped out of his hand. It didn't break. It hit the floor, bounced once, and rolled under the table. He stared after it as if the mustard had personally betrayed him. Mom thought he was joking. Tom, if this is about the Dijon again, I swear. Then his left knee folded. By the time I got there, the paramedics had Dad on a stretcher in the front hallway. Mom was holding his wallet, the television remote, and one of her slippers. She had apparently decided all 3 were essential. Where's your other shoe? I asked. What? Never mind. Give me the wallet. I can carry a wallet, Leah. I know. She handed it over anyway. Dad tried to say my name. What came out sounded like Lee, thick and unfinished. His right hand moved, but his left lay open on the blanket. I remember noticing a smear of yellow mustard on the heel of his sock. Of all the things my brain could have kept, it kept that. At the hospital, Mom called Vanessa before we even knew what had happened. She put the phone on speaker because she couldn't figure out how to turn the volume up. Oh my God, Vanessa said. I'm coming right now. You don't have to come until we know something, I said. I'm not asking permission. That was Vanessa at her best. Immediate, certain, warm enough to make hesitation look heartless. She arrived 40 minutes later in a cream-colored coat, with her hair still curled from a sales presentation. She brought coffee for Mom, black tea for me, and a blueberry muffin no one ate. She bent over Dad when they finally let us see him and kissed his forehead without flinching at the wires. "Hey, handsome," she whispered. "You scared the hell out of us." Dad's mouth tugged on one side. Mom burst into tears. Vanessa held her while I stood at the foot of the bed, reading the dry erase board. Nurse, Kevin, mobility, assistive 2, diet, NPO. I had no idea what NPO meant, so I looked it up on my phone and then asked Kevin anyway because Google had never seen my father choke on water. The stroke was moderate, the neurologist said. Dad had weakness on his left side and trouble swallowing, but he was alert. The first 24 hours mattered, then the next, 48, then the first week. Time broke into professional-looking pieces. Vanessa handled people. She called Dad's brother in Arizona and made him laugh. She updated relatives, choosing details that sounded honest without being frightening. She posted nothing online because I asked her not to, which surprised me enough that I thanked her twice. I handled everything that came with a clipboard. I found Dad's medication list in Mom's purse, underneath 12 grocery receipts and a loose peppermint. I called his primary doctor. I drove home for his glasses and came back with Mom's other slipper. I emailed my boss, Ray, at 2 a.m. to say I wouldn't be opening the office. Ray replied at 2:07, "Don't worry about us." Also, I changed printer toner by myself. Please alert the media. I laughed in the hospital bathroom and then felt disloyal for it. Dad stabilized. 3 days later, the hospital transferred him to a rehabilitation center with blue carpet and artificial ficus trees in every corner. The place smelled like lemon cleaner, chicken broth, and somebody else's laundry. Dad hated it before his wheelchair cleared the lobby. "I'm not staying," he said. His speech had improved enough to make irritation crisp. "You are absolutely staying," Mom told him. "Prison has better chairs. You've never been to prison." "I watch documentaries." Vanessa crouched in front of him. "Give it a week, Dad, then we'll spring you." He pointed at her. "Favorite." Mom laughed too quickly. Vanessa grinned and made a little crown above her head with both hands. I smiled because Dad was joking, mostly. His room had 2 beds, but the second was empty. Mom took that as proof the center expected her to sleep there. "No," I said. "You're going home tonight. He shouldn't be alone." "He won't be alone. There are 30 employees in this building. He doesn't know them. He doesn't know the man who services your furnace either, but you let him into the basement. That's different. Because you offer him coffee?" Mom gave me the look she used when I had introduced facts into a family discussion. "You don't understand what marriage is." I had been married once for 4 years, but Mom treated my divorce as retroactive evidence that I had never participated. Vanessa rescued the moment by announcing that she would bring Dad's good pillow and the electric razor he liked. Mom immediately relaxed. "You always think of the little things," she told her. I looked down at the overnight bag I had packed, which contained the good pillow and the electric razor. Vanessa saw them. Her eyes flicked to mine, and for half a second, she looked embarrassed. Then she took the bag from me. "I'll carry it," she said. That was how it usually worked. I thought of the little things. Vanessa carried them into the room. For the next 2 weeks, I went to rehab after work almost every day. The plumbing company closed at 5, but a plumbing emergency apparently began at 4:57. Usually with a man shouting that he had tried everything when everything meant hitting a pipe with a wrench. I would finish the schedule, lock the deposit in the safe, and drive across town with dinner balanced on the passenger seat. Mom stayed with Dad from breakfast until evening. Vanessa visited 4 times, always arriving with something that changed the air. Barbecue from Dad's favorite place, a baseball cap, a card signed by the staff at her office. Dad lit up when she came through the door. I couldn't blame him. Vanessa was fun to see. I arrived with questions about bowel movements. One Tuesday, I found Mom standing outside Dad's room, whispering fiercely into her phone. "No, that is not what she said. She said he's progressing." She saw me and lowered the phone. "Who is that?" "Your Aunt Denise. She thinks Tom needs a nursing home. Aunt Denise thinks a slow toaster needs assisted living." Mom hung up without saying goodbye. "Your father is coming home. He probably is." Probably? When he can transfer safely and swallow safely, yes. He walked 30 feet today, with a therapist and a gait belt. You always make everything sound worse. I'm repeating what the therapist said. That girl is 25. She's 37. Her name is Alicia. Well, she looks 25. I glanced through the doorway. Dad was asleep in the recliner with his mouth open, his left hand curled against his stomach. Mom's voice softened. "He hates it here. I know." I wake up and reach for him. That stopped me. My parents bickered with the stamina of professional athletes. Mom complained about Dad leaving cabinet doors open. Dad referred to her decorative pillows as obstacles. They had not gone to bed angry in 43 years, mostly because they preferred to stay awake and keep arguing. I put my hand on Mom's shoulder. She leaned into me for exactly 2 seconds. Then she said, "If you moved into the guest room for a little while, it would make everything easier." There it was, so gently placed I almost stepped over it. "I'm not moving in. Not forever. No. You wouldn't even have to change your address. I already have an address. I know that, Leah." "Do you?" She pulled away. "I'm asking for help. I am helping. You're dropping off food and talking to nurses. I've missed 4 days of work. I'm managing his appointments, his insurance calls, the medication list, your transportation, and the equipment order. You like that sort of thing." Nobody liked calling an insurance company. That was why the music sounded like punishment. I lowered my voice. I can help after he comes home. I can't be the plan. Mom crossed her arms. Nobody said you were the plan. Then what is the plan? She looked toward Dad's room as if a plan might be written on his blanket. Vanessa said she'll do whatever we need. Vanessa had said that in our family group text. 3 red hearts followed it. No days, no hours, no tasks. That's good, I said. Then she needs to come to caregiver training. She works. So do I. Her work is less predictable. Vanessa sold software to medical offices. I managed 11 plumbers, 2 apprentices, 1 bookkeeper who cried during tax season, and a phone line people called when sewage entered their homes. Predictability was not our family's strongest category. Mom rubbed her forehead. Why does everything with you have to become a negotiation? Because with Vanessa, it's an announcement. She stared at me. I regretted it before the silence finished forming, but I didn't take it back. Dad called from the room. Carol? Mom went to him immediately. I stayed in the hallway with my hands still curled around the paper bag containing the turkey sandwich he had requested and would later complain was too dry. The following afternoon, Alicia, the occupational therapist, showed me how to help Dad stand from a chair. Dad had to move forward, plant both feet, push from the armrests, and wait for balance before reaching for the walker. Dad skipped the waiting part. Sit, Alicia said. I'm up. You're falling with confidence. I've been walking longer than you've been alive, and today you're doing it my way. I liked her. She fastened a wide gait belt around his waist and had me practice from the other side. Dad's face tightened when I put my hands on him. He hated needing instructions for a movement he had made 10,000 times without thinking. Don't lift me like a sack of cement, he said. You're much more opinionated than cement. Cement listens. Afterward, Alicia gave me a folder thick with instructions. Safe transfers, fall prevention, shower setup, warning signs. A form on top listed me as the family member completing caregiver training. This doesn't make me his primary caregiver, right? I asked. No, it documents what you learned today. Before discharge, we'll need a confirmed home care schedule and acknowledgement from whoever is assuming daily responsibility. My mother thinks that's me. Alicia glanced through the open door at Mom, who was smoothing Dad's blanket, and Vanessa, who had arrived 10 minutes earlier with milkshakes. And do you think it's you? She asked. No. It came out firmer than I felt. Across the room, Vanessa held a straw to Dad's mouth, while Mom watched her with exhausted gratitude. Then Vanessa looked over at the folder in my hands. Anything important? She asked. I closed it. Only if we want him to get home safely. She smiled as if that answer settled something. Of course we do, she said. Vanessa tapped one fingernail against the folder. So what do we actually have to do? We? I asked. To get Dad home. Alicia answered before I could. Anyone regularly helping with transfers should complete a training session. We also need a realistic schedule showing who will be present and when. Easy. Vanessa set Dad's milkshake on the tray. Mom's there during the day. I can do evenings, and Leah's close. There it was. My name used as a unit of distance. How many evenings? I asked. Vanessa gave me a look. As many as they need. Name them. Why? Because Tuesday is an evening. So is Thursday. Evenings sounds like 7 of them until somebody writes it down. Dad sighed. Here we go. Alicia pretended to inspect the brakes on his wheelchair. Vanessa crossed her arms. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Is that specific enough for you? Yes. And you? 1 weekday evening and Sundays. Mom turned from the window. 1? I can bring dinner on Sunday, handle the medications for the week, and cover another night. That's 2, Dad said. Thank you, Rain Man. His crooked smile appeared before he could stop it. For a second, the room felt normal. Alicia gave us a blank weekly schedule. Mom held it like an insult. Vanessa wrote her name in purple ink across 3 evenings, adding little circles over the eyes, even though her name did not contain one. I filled in Sunday and Thursday, then drew a line through the mornings marked paid aid. Mom watched my pen. We haven't agreed to that. You can't transfer him alone yet. I helped him out of bed this morning, with a nursing assistant standing there. She barely touched him. The nursing assistant had told me Mom had grabbed Dad under both arms and nearly gone down with him. Mom left that part out because, in her mind, an event stopped counting once it ended without an ambulance. Alicia sat beside her. Mrs. Mercer, using help isn't failure. Mom's chin lifted. I didn't say it was. No, ma'am. I'm perfectly willing to learn. I know. I've taken care of that man since 1981. Dad raised one finger. There were a few good years in the 90s. Vanessa laughed. Mom tried not to. That was Dad's gift. He could relieve pressure in a room without admitting there was any. Growing up, if Mom and I fought, he made a joke and went to the garage. If Vanessa broke a rule, he called her a rascal. If I objected, he told me not to keep score. He had never understood that only the person losing was asked to stop counting. Alicia scheduled Mom's training for the next morning and Vanessa's for Friday. I took a picture of the schedule before Mom slid it into the folder. You photographed it? Vanessa asked. I photographed my parking spot at the airport, too. This isn't the airport. You haven't seen Mom's purse. Mom hugged the folder against her side. I am standing right here. At work the next morning, Ray was trying to make coffee with a filter that had folded in on itself. Brown water ran around the pot and pooled beneath the machine. You manage complex systems, I said. I own a company. That's not what I said. He moved aside while I unplugged the machine. Ray was 62, shaped like a mailbox, and had been threatening to retire since the day he hired me. His sons wanted nothing to do with plumbing. One was an accountant in Colorado, and the other sold handmade guitars online. Facts Ray delivered as if both men had joined the circus. You don't have to be here, he said. I'm aware. I mean, with your dad. So do I. Take the week. I took most of last week, and somehow faucets still leaked. I wiped the counter. Dad's stable. Rehab says he could be home soon. That good? It's good. Ray waited. I hated that he knew how to wait. My mother thinks I'm moving in. Are you? No. Then don't. Thank you, Solomon. He picked up the damaged filter. My sister took care of our mother for 5 years. The rest of us said she was better at it. I looked at him. She was, he said, mostly because she did it and we didn't. Before I could answer, the phone rang. A restaurant on Linden had water coming through a ceiling. Then one of the vans needed a new alternator. An apprentice used the phrase, small electrical fire, and the city inspector showed up for paperwork Ray had placed somewhere safe. By noon, I had missed 3 calls from Mom. The first voicemail said Dad had walked 42 feet. The second said the social worker was pressuring them. The third said, call me when your job permits. I called during lunch. What happened? Nothing happened. I wanted to discuss this aid business. If nothing happened, why did you call 3 times? You never answer the first time. Because I was at work. You used to answer. Before Dad's stroke, Mom called during office hours only to ask if I wanted furniture she was throwing out, or whether sour cream could be frozen. If I didn't answer, she called again because she assumed phones worked by persistence. What did the social worker say? I asked. That they have an agency they recommend. $32 an hour. Can you imagine? Yes. For someone to sit in my house. To help Dad shower and get dressed. I can do that. How did training go? A pause. Fine. What does fine mean? It means fine, Leah. Not everything is a deposition. She had struggled with the transfer. I could hear it in her voice. Admitting difficulty would make the aid necessary, so difficulty had become an accusation. Tell them you want the aid for the first 2 weeks, I said. Then we can reassess. We? The family. You already decided you barely belong to it. I put down my sandwich. Mom, I have to go. Your father needs me. She hung up. At 6, I found Dad in the therapy gym batting a red balloon back and forth with a man named Leonard. Leonard had silver hair, a Georgia accent, and no patience for self-pity. "You hit like my first wife," he told Dad. Dad swatted the balloon with his good hand. "She leave you?" "She died." Dad froze. "Then I remarried," Leonard said. "Second one hits harder." Dad laughed so suddenly the balloon rolled between the parallel bars. I watched him retrieve it with help from the therapist. He hated every hand near his elbow, but he took 4 careful steps. His left foot dragged, corrected, then landed where it belonged. When he finished, his face was wet with sweat. 48, he said. Mom said 42. Old news. Congratulations. Home by Monday. Nobody said Monday, I said Monday. That's not how discharge works. It ought to count for something. I'm the discharger. You're the dischargee, made-up word. Leonard called from his chair. She got you there. Dad waited until the therapist wheeled him back toward his room. Your mother says you won't help. I said I won't move in. She's scared. So am I. You don't act scared. What's the correct posture? His mouth tightened. Don't be cute. That was another family rule. Dad could joke during tension. I was being disrespectful if I did. I'm helping with the schedule, I said. I'm handling Thursday nights and Sundays. Vanessa has 3 evenings. An aide will cover mornings. Your mother doesn't want a stranger in the house. Then she needs to demonstrate she can manage without one. She's your mother. I know who she is. I gave you girls everything. The sentence seemed to surprise both of us. Dad looked toward the hallway, embarrassed by his own need. You did, I said. I could have listed what I had given back. I could have mentioned the winter I used my vacation days after his knee replacement, or the year I did their taxes, painted the downstairs bathroom, and spent every Saturday driving Mom to appointments while Vanessa was slammed. Instead, I adjusted the blanket over his left knee. He watched my hands. I just want to sleep in my bed, he said. I know. Your side of the family can turn a ham sandwich into a committee meeting. It's your side, too. Not when you're difficult. I laughed despite myself. Dad smiled, then reached for my wrist with his right hand. Make it work, Lee. That was as close as he came to asking. Vanessa missed her Friday training. She texted our family thread 11 minutes after it started. Client crisis. I am so sorry. Can we do tomorrow? Mom immediately reacted with a heart. I wrote, they don't run caregiver training on Saturday. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then returned. Okay, Monday then. I'll make it work. Dad's proposed Monday discharge had already been ruled out. He needed another swallowing evaluation, and the home equipment wouldn't arrive in time. I expected him to be furious. Instead, Mom told him the delay was because the rehabilitation center wanted to milk his insurance. That isn't true, I said. They're certainly not keeping him for free. They're keeping him because he isn't ready. Dad stared at the television. Mom straightened the tissue box on his nightstand. Vanessa said she can work from our house for the first few days. She told Alicia Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. She's rearranging things. Did she reschedule training? She will. When? Mom's jaw moved. Why are you so determined for her to fail? I want her to show up. She has shown up. She brought a milkshake. Your father enjoyed that milkshake. Dad raised the remote. It was excellent. I turned to him. Stay out of this. I'm in a hospital bed. Rehabilitation bed, Mom corrected. Well, thank God we cleared that up. Vanessa appeared in the doorway carrying a garment bag and wearing an expression of exaggerated caution. Am I allowed in, or is this a private execution? Dad brightened. Mom rushed to greet her. What on earth is that? Dad's going home outfit, his gray pants, blue shirt, and the cardigan. Mom hates. I don't hate it, Mom said. It pills. Vanessa hung the bag on the bathroom door. I talked to the discharge office. If Dad passes swallowing on Tuesday, they can aim for Wednesday. You talked to them? I asked. Yes, Leah. Phones work for other people. Did you reschedule your training? Her smile thinned. Tuesday morning. I'll confirm with Alicia. You do that. Mom touched Vanessa's back. She took care of it. Nobody mentioned that Wednesday was one of the evenings Vanessa had claimed on the schedule. Nobody mentioned that Wednesday morning would require someone trained to get Dad dressed, into his wheelchair, out of the building, into a car, out of the car, and through the narrow doorway at home. Vanessa walked over and kissed Dad's cheek. "You're coming home," she said. Dad closed his eyes with relief. Then she looked at me over his shoulder. It wasn't a challenge. It was something more familiar, an expectation. I recognized it because I had seen it all my life. Vanessa expected me to object, maybe complain, and then move into the space she had left open. She could promise Wednesday because Wednesday had a Leah hidden inside it. "What time is his swallowing evaluation?" I asked. 9, she said. "And your training?" 10. "Good. Would you like a notarized statement?" "No, just be here." Mom made a disgusted sound. "You two are too old for this." We were. Vanessa was 36, I was 40, and we could still make Mom sound like she had turned around in the front seat to threaten us with no ice cream. Vanessa took Dad's hand. "I'll be here." She was not. At 10:12 Tuesday morning, Alicia texted me. "Is Vanessa coming? I have another family at 11. I was at my desk with a plumber on line 1, a supplier on line 2, and Ray standing in front of me holding an invoice like it contained a personal attack. I called Vanessa. It went straight to voicemail. I texted the family thread. "Alicia is waiting." Mom replied. "She's parking." At 10:28, Vanessa wrote, "Conference call ran long, 5 minutes away." At 10:43, Alicia sent, "I have to go. We can try at 3 if she can commit." I typed the message 3 times before I found a version without profanity. "Can you be there at 3? Vanessa called immediately. "I was there," she said. "You were not. I was in the parking lot. Training doesn't happen in the parking lot. I got held up getting Dad's clothes from the dry cleaner. His go-home cardigan required dry cleaning? It was the pants. Are they ceremonial pants?" Ray looked up from his invoice. Vanessa lowered her voice. "I have a job, Leah. So does Alicia. Everything with you is a trap. You ask a question, but there's already a correct answer in your head. There is a correct answer to, 'Did you show up at 10? I can be there at 3. Then tell Alicia, not me." She exhaled into the phone. "Why can't you just confirm it? She likes you. She likes people who arrive. I was trying to do something nice for Dad, and now you need me to turn it into something useful. I don't need anything from you." There was a silence so clean I could hear Ray's chair squeak across the office. "Great," I said. "Call her yourself." I hung up and gave Ray the supplier number he had been standing 3 feet from the entire time. He took it without comment. "Say it," I told him. "Your family is none of my business. That has never stopped anyone." He put the invoice down. "You know you're still managing it, right?" "Managing what?" "The thing you say you're not going to manage." I hated him for approximately 6 seconds. At 3:15, Alicia sent a picture of the weekly schedule with a check mark beside Vanessa's name. Vanessa had completed the training. She followed directions well, Alicia wrote, though she needed practice with the gait belt. Mom passed along the news as if Vanessa had earned a medical degree. Knew she could do it. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I zoomed in on the picture and checked whether anything had changed. Wednesday morning still had a paid aide. Vanessa's name still appeared only in the evening. Mine was still Sunday and Thursday. I saved the picture. Dad passed the swallowing evaluation. He celebrated with a graham cracker and 4 ounces of water, while a speech therapist watched his throat. "Best meal I've had here," he said. "Don't get emotional," I told him. "You'll ruin the ambiance." He chewed carefully. He had learned to tuck his chin before swallowing and to take smaller bites, though he complained that eating this way made lunch feel like a tax audit. The therapist cleared him for regular food with precautions. Dad asked if beer counted as regular food. "No," she said. "What about light beer?" "Especially no." After she left, he leaned toward me. "Your mother has wine in her sewing room. I know, you know? Everybody knows. She thinks the ironing board hides it." He laughed, then coughed. I waited until he swallowed again. His face changed when he noticed me watching. "I'm fine." I didn't say anything. "You get a crease." "What crease?" He pointed between his eyebrows. Your emergency crease. I work for plumbers. That's structural now." He touched his own forehead, trying to imitate it, and I saw a glimpse of the man who used to sit across from me at the kitchen table, helping with algebra while pretending not to understand why letters belonged in math. Dad had taught me how to drive, how to change a tire, how to keep an emergency 20 in my wallet. He had also taught me that love looked like being prepared for other people. No wonder I had gotten so good at it. "Tomorrow," he said. "Looks like it. You coming?" "I have to work in the morning. I'll meet you here before the discharge meeting." "What time?" 11. "Be here at 10:30, I said before the meeting. 10:45. You negotiate like a hostage taker. He smiled. 10:45. That night, I went to my parents' house to check the equipment delivery. The hospital bed filled half the downstairs den, facing the television at an angle Dad would hate. A shower chair sat in its box in the hallway. The new walker leaned beside the couch with a plastic bag of tennis balls hanging from one handle. Mom had put a vase of grocery store daisies on the rolling bedside table. "Doesn't it look cheerful?" she asked. "It looks like the den has been drafted." She pressed a hand to the mattress. "This is hard as a board. Supportive. Prison language. Dad said prison had better chairs, not mattresses." She moved the daisies 2 inches to the left. "Vanessa said she can stay tomorrow night." "She's scheduled tomorrow night. You don't have to say it like that." "Like what?" "Like she's an employee. A schedule isn't an insult. Families shouldn't need schedules." "Then why have you spent 40 years writing everyone's name on masking tape under casserole dishes?" "That's different." Everything was different when Mom needed it to be. I carried the shower chair upstairs and assembled it while she followed me from room to room. She talked about what groceries Dad might want, which neighbors had offered help, and whether the aide would expect coffee. She did not mention that the morning aide had still not been formally booked. I asked. I left a message. "When?" "This afternoon. Did they confirm?" "They'll call." "Mom." "What?" "Dad comes home tomorrow, I'm aware." "Who's helping in the morning after that?" "I am." "You couldn't complete the transfer without help." "That was one time. It was training. I was nervous because that woman watched everything I did. That was the point." Mom opened the linen closet and began rearranging towels. "Vanessa can come before work. Did she say that?" "She said she would help. Those words aren't a schedule." She spun around with a hand towel in each fist. "Stop talking to me like I'm incompetent. I'm talking to you like Dad can fall." Her face collapsed so quickly, I wished she had stayed angry. "I know he can fall," she said. I watched him fall. The towels slipped against her chest. For a moment, we stood in the hallway under the framed photograph from their 35th anniversary. Dad was laughing at something outside the frame. Mom was looking at him instead of the camera. I took the towels from her and folded them again, though they were already folded. "We'll book the aide," I said, "just for mornings." She nodded. "Say it. We'll book the aide. Tomorrow, I'll call." Relief crossed her face. I caught it. "You need to call," I said. "I'll give you the number." The relief vanished. "You just said you would." "I know, I shouldn't have. Leah, I have a few other things going on. So do I." She took the towels back. Fine, I left before I assembled anything else. Wednesday morning began with a frozen pipe in July. One of our commercial clients had a walk-in freezer with a badly routed line, and by 8:30 water was spreading through the storage room of a grocery store. 2 plumbers called out. Ray went to the wrong address. A man named Bruce shouted at me about ruined yogurt. At 10:19, Mom called. "Where are you?" "At work. We're packing. I'll be there before 11. Your father keeps asking. Tell him I'm coming." At 10:38, I was still arranging an emergency water extraction crew. I called the rehabilitation center and asked for the discharge office. A woman named Maribel answered. "This is Leah Mercer. I'm running about 15 minutes late for my father's meeting." "Oh," she said, "your sister is here. We've completed most of the paperwork." "Without me?" "You're listed as a participating caregiver. Your signature is all we need." I stopped typing. "My signature?" "The caregiver acknowledgement and home plan. I haven't signed anything." A small pause followed. Papers moved on her end. Your form was submitted this morning. The office seemed to narrow around me. Please don't process it, I said. I'm on my way. I arrived at 11:13. Dad was dressed in the gray pants, blue shirt, and pilling cardigan. Mom was packing his things into a canvas grocery bag because she had forgotten the suitcase. Vanessa had curled Dad's phone charger around her fingers and was standing beside the wheelchair. My name waited on the last page. I said it wasn't mine. Mom claimed Vanessa had permission. Dad asked us not to turn it into a federal case. Vanessa looked annoyed. Then Mom put her hand on Vanessa's arm and told Maribel, "She is the daughter we trust." Nobody spoke for a beat. I looked at my mother. Which daughter signed the form? Mom blinked. And which daughter's name did she use? Leah, Vanessa warned. No, I want to understand the system. You trust Vanessa so she gets to sign my name? It was a convenience, Mom said. For whom? For your father. Dad shifted on the bed. I'm sitting right here. Maribel pulled the form closer. Her expression had lost its discharge day brightness. Ms. Mercer, did your sister have permission to sign on your behalf? No. Vanessa threw up one hand. She knew we needed it. That isn't permission. You're on the schedule. 2 days. Not daily care. We all know you're going to help. There it was, spoken as if my future behavior belonged to the room. Maribel took a pen from her lanyard and drew a line across the signature. Vanessa stared at it. What are you doing? Voiding the form. Mom's face went white. Does that mean he can't leave? It means we need an accurate acknowledgement from the people assuming care. I signed mine, Mom said. Maribel checked the packet. Your training notes require assistance with transfers. I have Vanessa. I'm trained, Vanessa said quickly. Then we can revise the home plan to identify you as the additional responsible caregiver. Vanessa's mouth opened. Her phone began to ring inside her purse. She looked toward it before she looked at Dad. And that was the first moment anyone else in the room saw the schedule hidden inside her promise. Vanessa let the phone ring out. 2 seconds later, it started again. Maribel waited. Dad stared at Vanessa's purse as if it had insulted him. Mom reached over and pressed the bag against Vanessa's hip to muffle the sound. I have a client going live today, Vanessa said. Do they need you right now? Mom asked. They might. Maribel turned the revised home care plan around. Your father requires hands-on assistance in the morning, supervision during transfers, meal support, and someone available overnight. If you're taking responsibility with your mother, I need the times you'll be present. I already gave them. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings, I said. Vanessa's eyes flashed. Thank you, court reporter. You forged the court reporter's signature. Stop saying forged. What word would you prefer? Enough, Dad said. His voice came out stronger than I expected. The room obeyed. He planted his right palm on the mattress and tried to stand. His left leg lagged behind. Mom moved toward him, but Maribel reached the gate belt first and steadied him back onto the bed. Dad shoved her hand away. I said, I'm going home. And we want to get you home safely, Maribel said. Everybody keeps saying safely when they mean later. His face had gone red. The effort left him breathing hard, but anger made him look more like himself than weakness did. Mom sat beside him. You're going home today. Maribel's voice stayed gentle. I can't release him under a care plan no one is able to follow. I'm able. You require a second person for transfers. My daughter will be there. We all looked at Vanessa. Her phone rang a third time. She pulled it from her purse and silenced it. I can work from their house. For how long? Maribel asked. The first few days. What hours? I don't know exactly. Normal hours. Will you be available to leave a call if your father needs the bathroom? Vanessa glanced at Dad. His embarrassment filled the room before his answer could. I can go to the bathroom, he said. With someone nearby, I said. He turned on me. You don't have to narrate every damn thing I can't do. The words landed cleanly. I looked down at the voided signature. You're right. Mom stroked his shoulder. Vanessa stood beside the bathroom door in the outfit she had chosen for him. Still holding the phone, everyone had now heard 3 times. Maribel gave us a few minutes. The instant the door closed, Mom faced me. "Fix this. No, you caused the problem. I identified the problem. You knew they needed your signature. They didn't need my signature. They needed my consent. What is the practical difference?" "Me?" Mom stared as if I had answered in another language. Vanessa shoved her phone into her purse. "Fine. Put me down for the mornings." "Can you do the mornings?" I asked. "I said I can. You also said you had a client going live today. Today is not every day. Tomorrow?" She hesitated. Mom stepped in. "I can manage tomorrow." "No, you can't. Stop telling me what I can't do." Dad closed his eyes. Vanessa lowered her voice. "What do you want, Leah? A real plan?" "No. What do you want from us? An apology? Do you want me to get on my knees because I copied your signature onto a form? I want you to understand that my name isn't family property. It was paperwork. It promised my time. I knew you wouldn't let Dad fall." The certainty in her voice made my skin go cold. She had not believed she was taking a risk. She had believed she was activating me. Dad opened his eyes. "Lee." I didn't look at him. "It's a couple of days," he said, "until I'm stronger. There's an aide available. I don't want some stranger washing me, I understand." "No, you don't. I understand that you don't want it." He looked at my face, searching for the part that usually gave way. "Do this one thing for me," he said. Mom went still. Vanessa watched me. Every object in the room seemed to wait. His folded walker, the grocery bag, the cardigan sleeve hanging past his wrist, my crossed-out name. I wanted to say yes. That was the terrible part. I wanted to drive him home, help him through the doorway, make soup, complain about the television volume, and sleep lightly in the guest room so I could hear him call. I wanted the relief on his face more than I wanted my own evening, my own job, or the quiet apartment that would feel indecent when he was struggling. But if I said yes after Vanessa signed my name, then she had been right. "You're asking for more than one thing," I said. Dad looked away. Mom whispered, "Unbelievable." Vanessa grabbed her coat from the chair. "I have to take this call." "Of course you do," I said. She stopped at the door. "I showed up. You showed up to take him home. You didn't show up to keep him there." Her face tightened. I expected another excuse, but what came was quieter. "You make it impossible to do anything good around you." Then she left. Dad's discharge was delayed. Not canceled, Maribel explained when she returned. Delayed until Friday, assuming we confirmed the aid, repeated Mom's transfer training, and produced a schedule the rehabilitation team believed. Mom signed each revised page with angry little strokes. She did not speak to me except to ask where Dad's brown shoes were. They were under the chair. I gave them to her and hated myself for knowing. Dad refused lunch. He sat in the wheelchair by the window wearing his cardigan, while a nursing assistant unpacked the clothes Mom had put into the grocery bag. The cardigan stayed on. It became the only visible sign that he had expected to leave. I went to the hallway and called the home care agency. A woman named Denise confirmed that someone could start Friday morning if we paid a 4-hour minimum. The aid would come from 8 until noon for 2 weeks. Then we could adjust. I gave her Mom's number for the intake call. "You'll also be listed as a contact?" Denise asked. "No." The word felt too hard, so I added, "My mother is the primary contact. We usually request a backup, Vanessa Mercer." I gave her Vanessa's number. When I returned to the room, Mom was standing by the window with her back to me. "The aid can start Friday," I said. "How generous of you to arrange the stranger. I gave them your number. They'll call for the intake. I don't know what they'll ask. They'll tell you. I suppose I should be grateful you didn't make me find the number myself. I already gave it to you last night." She turned then. "Do you enjoy this?" "What?" "Watching us struggle so you can prove a point." Dad stared at the muted television. "This isn't a point," I said. "This is what it looks like when I don't quietly do everything." Her mouth trembled. Whether from anger or hurt, I couldn't tell. "We did everything for you," she said. There it was again. The family ledger appeared only when I declined a new charge. I know. No, you don't. Your father worked overtime so you could go to college. I went to community college and worked at Kroger. Because you refused to go away, I refused to borrow $30,000. Vanessa went away. Yes, the comparison sat between us. Vanessa's college had been framed as an opportunity. Mine had been framed as my own stubborn choice, which meant the money they saved did not count as money withheld. Dad reached for the remote. Can we please watch something? Mom unmuted the television. A man in a bright kitchen was chopping onions at a speed that seemed hostile. I left without saying goodbye. Vanessa called that evening while I was eating cereal over the sink. You happy? She asked. Wildly. Dad won't talk to me. He's not talking to me either. Mom says you booked the aid. Yes. They can't afford that forever. It's for 2 weeks. Then what? He improves, Mom improves, or you and I discuss more coverage. So now you'll discuss it. I always said I'd help. On Sunday and Thursday, like a visiting nurse, like a daughter with a job. She was silent long enough that I set the bowl down. I really did think you'd sign it, she said. You didn't ask, because you would have made it into this whole thing. You made it this whole thing when you signed for me. I was trying to get him home, and I was supposed to become responsible after the useful part was over. You think I only care about looking good. I think you care about helping right up to the moment it becomes inconvenient. That's rich from the person who walked out. I gripped the counter. They had trained staff. He was safe. He didn't feel safe. That one found its mark. Vanessa knew because Dad told her things he spared me. To her, he admitted fear. To me, he assigned repairs. I'll see you Friday, I said. I have to move some meetings. Move them. You don't get to order me around. No, but you signed a schedule. She laughed once bitterly. Of course you took a picture. I did. Good night, Leah. She hung up. Friday morning, Vanessa was there before me. That surprised everyone, including Vanessa. She sat in the corner of Dad's room wearing jeans and no makeup, drinking vending machine coffee. When I arrived, she held out a second cup. It's terrible, she said, but I bought it for you. I took it. Dad's cardigan had been folded on the chair overnight. He wore it again, though the morning was warm. Mom checked the grocery bag every few minutes. Maribel reviewed the plan. The aide would start that afternoon to help settle Dad in, then return at 8 the next morning. Mom had completed another training session and successfully managed the transfer with supervision. Vanessa confirmed Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. I confirmed Thursday and Sunday. Maribel looked at me. Are you comfortable signing as a participating family member under those specific hours? I read every line. Yes. I signed my own name. Nobody commented on the difference. Getting Dad into Vanessa's car took 12 minutes. He rejected the wheelchair angle, the seat position, and the folded towel Alicia placed between his shoulder and the door. I'm not made of glass, he said. No, Alicia told him. Glass is cooperative. Leonard waved from the lobby. Don't come back, Tom. Same to you. Mom cried when we pulled away. Dad did too, though he blamed the wind coming through the air vent. At the house, the aide was waiting in her car. Her name was Ruth. She was in her 50s, broad-shouldered, with purple glasses and a voice that made everything sound already handled. Dad frowned when he saw her. Who's that? The stranger, Mom said. Ruth heard her. Only until I learn all your secrets, she said, opening the passenger door. Then I become a threat. Dad looked at her, surprised. Ruth fastened the gate belt around him before anyone could object. Vanessa stood on one side, Mom on the other, each trying to help until Ruth told them both to back up and give him room. I carried the grocery bag inside. The den was too warm. The daisies had begun to droop. Someone had moved the walker and the bed faced the television at the wrong angle. I set the bag down without fixing any of it. Dad made it through the doorway. Vanessa cheered. Mom kissed his cheek. Ruth guided him toward the hospital bed while he complained that everybody was hovering. For one bright second, it looked like a homecoming. Then Dad lowered himself onto the mattress, glanced toward the television, and said, Lee, can you move the bed? 4 faces turned toward me. I looked at the bed, the wall outlet, the narrow path to the bathroom, and the vase I had already calculated would need moving first. "No," I said. "Ask me on Sunday." Dad blinked at me. "Sunday? That's when I'm here. You are here. For the homecoming, not to rearrange furniture." Mom made a sharp sound in her throat. "Don't be ridiculous. It will take 5 minutes. It won't," Ruth said. We all looked at her. She crouched beside the bed and checked the power cord. "You have to unplug it, clear the table, lock the wheels afterward, and make sure the bathroom path stays open. I'd leave it until we see how Mr. Mercer moves through the room." Dad pointed at her. "See? Threat." Ruth smiled. "I've been called worse before breakfast." I could have kissed her. Mom picked up the vase. "At least angle the television." The television weighed about 4 pounds. She was standing beside it. "You can do that," I said. Her expression made it clear that the television had become symbolic. Vanessa stepped over and turned it 6 inches. "There." "Thank you," Mom said, loud enough to reach the neighbors. Vanessa gave me a quick, uneasy glance. I wasn't sure whether she wanted credit or wanted me to notice how cheaply credit could be purchased. Ruth helped Dad change into sweatpants. Mom followed them toward the bathroom until Ruth held up one hand. "Give him some privacy. I'm his wife, and I'm the person he's already mad at." Dad's voice came through the door. "She's winning." Mom sat on the edge of the couch. Without a task in her hands, she looked older. Her wedding ring had become loose enough to turn sideways. Vanessa put an arm around her. "He's home." Mom leaned against her. "Because you girls made it happen." I picked up my purse. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Work." "You're going back?" "It's 1:30. Your father just came home, and he has Ruth until 4. Vanessa is here tonight." Vanessa's arm stiffened around Mom. Dad called from the bathroom. "Lee?" I waited. "What?" "Thanks for getting me out." The sentence was wrong in several ways, but I took it anyway. "You're welcome." In the car, I sat with the air conditioner blowing directly into my face. I had expected leaving to feel clean. Instead, it felt like walking away from a restaurant after realizing I had forgotten to tip. At 2:12, Vanessa called. "Hypothetical question," she said. "No, you don't even know the question. You only say hypothetical when the real answer is inconvenient. How tight is the gate belt supposed to be?" I closed my eyes. "Snug enough that you can slide 2 fingers under it. 2 fingers vertically or flat." "Flat. That seems tight. It needs to be tight. Dad says it's cutting off his liver. Dad doesn't know where his liver is." "I heard that," he shouted in the background. "Put me on speaker." "I already did." "Dad, the belt goes over your clothes, around your waist. If it's loose, it slides up." I managed to walk before people started strapping luggage handles to me. Ruth's voice came from farther away. "And yet we're wearing it." I smiled. Vanessa lowered her voice. "Can you come back after work? It's your evening, I know. I'm asking if you can stop by. Why? Because this is a lot." There was no manipulation in her voice that time. Just surprise. "Yes," I almost said. The word reached the back of my teeth. "Call Alicia if you have questions," I said. "Her number is in the folder. Alicia isn't my sister." "No, but she's qualified." Vanessa was quiet. "Okay," she said. "Fine." She did not call again. Mom did. At 4:48, while I was closing out payroll, she left a voicemail saying Ruth had gone and Dad wanted soup. At 5:11, she texted to ask where extra batteries were. At 5:30, she called because the walker was making a clicking noise. At 5:42, I listened to all 3 messages in the parking lot. I called Vanessa. "What's wrong with the walker?" "Nothing. 1 tennis ball was rubbing." "Did you fix it?" "Yes." "Did Dad get soup?" "He got half a grilled cheese and tomato soup. He said the soup tasted metallic. It's canned. He asked if you made it." That hurt more than it should have. "How are the transfers?" "Slow." "But safe?" "So far." A pause opened. Vanessa said, "Ruth made Mom cry." "What?" "She told her to stop grabbing Dad's arm." "That sounds like safety advice. Mom said Ruth was treating her like an idiot. Mom says that when anyone gives her an instruction." I know. The words came softly. I leaned against my car. Are you staying until he's in bed? Yes. Thank you. Don't sound so shocked. I'm not shocked. You are a little shocked. I'm adjusting. She laughed despite herself. Go home, Leah. I did. My apartment was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and the upstairs neighbor dropping something heavy enough to alter the building's foundation. I heated a frozen pizza, left half the lights off, and watched a detective show where every problem was identified, investigated, and resolved in 43 minutes. At 9, I checked my phone. No missed calls. I slept badly anyway. Saturday morning, Mom called at 6:20. He won't get up for Ruth. I sat up. Is she there? She's standing right beside me. Then why are you calling me? He listens to you. Dad shouted something in the background that sounded like traitor. Put Ruth on. Ruth came to the phone. Morning. Is anything wrong? Nope. Your father would prefer to wait until 10 to get dressed. Then why? Your mother thought you'd have a special technique. Mom said, I can hear you. Ruth lowered her voice theatrically. She can hear us. Tell Dad he can get up now or explain to Ruth why he's paying her $32 an hour to watch cable. Ruth relayed it word for word. Dad replied, $32? 5 minutes later, he was standing. By Sunday, the house had developed a new rhythm composed mostly of arguments. Dad hated the hospital bed but slept better in it. Mom hated Ruth, but made sure there was fresh coffee when she arrived. Ruth called Dad Your Majesty and made him practice standing 3 times before breakfast. He complained about her constantly and asked on Saturday night whether she was coming back in the morning. I arrived Sunday with chili, cornbread, and the medication organizer. Dad was in the den watching baseball. The bed was still facing the wrong direction. The daisies had been removed, leaving a pale ring on the bedside table. You're late, he said. It's 11:58. You said lunch. This is traditionally when lunch occurs. Mom came in from the kitchen. He's been waiting since 10. That was his decision. I wanted to see if you'd come, Dad said. I said I would. He looked at the television. People say things. The words were small, but they carried Vanessa's signature into the room. I set the chili on the counter. I'm here. Mom had made a list on the back of an envelope. Move bed. Pick up prescriptions. Return library books. Change furnace filter. Call insurance. Tighten kitchen faucet. Take cardboard to recycling. I read it twice. What? She asked. I said I'd handle dinner and medication. You're here all afternoon. I can move the bed and pick up the prescriptions. The rest waits. The faucet is dripping. Put a bowl under it. Your father can hear that from the den. I have access to 11 plumbers. I'll schedule 1. Why would we pay a plumber when you know how to tighten it? I know how to schedule 1. Mom took the envelope from my hand. Forget it. I said I'll schedule 1. And I said forget it. The faucet dripped into the sink between us. Dad called, What about the bed? We moved it after lunch. Mom unplugged the motor while I cleared the table and rolled up the rug. Dad supervised from his wheelchair with the intensity of a man directing an airport runway. More to the left, he said. Your left or mine? The correct left. There are 2. There should only be 1. The bed caught on the rug pad. Mom pushed too soon. I pushed too late. And the frame swung far enough to knock a framed picture from the wall. It landed face down on the carpet. Dad groaned. That was our anniversary. The marriage survived, I said. Mom picked up the frame. The glass was intact. We got the bed angled toward the television without blocking the bathroom path. Dad tested the view, asked for another 2 inches, and received none. I filled the medication organizer at the kitchen table. There were 9 prescriptions, 2 vitamins, and 1 bottle Dad insisted he no longer took, even though Mom said he took it every morning. I called the pharmacy, verified the list, and found 2 duplicate bottles in a grocery bag. Mom watched me from the doorway. You make it look easy, she said. It isn't difficult once everything is in one place. I never know what questions to ask. Write them down. I lose paper. Use your phone. I hate typing on that thing. I waited for the request she wanted me to volunteer for. She looked toward the den. "Your sister was very good with him Friday." I heard. "She stayed until almost 11. That was good of her. She was exhausted." I snapped the Sunday night compartment closed. "I'm sure." Mom shifted. "Her work is demanding. So is mine. I didn't say yours wasn't. You never have to." She frowned, honestly confused. Dad wanted chili in the den rather than at the kitchen table. Mom carried his bowl while I brought water and cornbread. He ate slowly, concentrating between complaints. "This needs more salt," he said. "You're not supposed to have more salt. Then it needs less caution." Mom laughed. I did too. For a while, we watched baseball. Dad explained a pitching change nobody had asked about. Mom folded laundry. I answered 2 work emails and stopped myself from checking whether the morning aides next week had been confirmed. When I stood to leave, Dad frowned. "Already? It's 7. You used to stay later. I used to come after work." Mom followed me to the door with the empty casserole dish. "Vanessa might need to change tomorrow," she said. "Change what?" "Her evening. Something came up at work." "Did she ask you to switch?" "She asked whether you might. She has my number. She knows how you get." I put on my shoes. "How do I get?" "Transactional." Behind Mom, Dad lowered the television volume. I took the casserole dish from her. "If Vanessa needs me to cover her shift, she can ask me." The phone in Mom's hand rang. Vanessa's name appeared across the screen. Mom looked at it, then at me, as if the timing proved something. I opened the door. "Aren't you going to wait?" she asked. "No." I stepped onto the porch while she answered. By the time I reached my car, my own phone was ringing. Vanessa. I let it ring twice before picking up. "Hey," she said too brightly. "Any chance you're free tomorrow night?" "No, you don't even know why." "I know I'm not free. You're home after work. That doesn't mean I'm available." My client moved the launch review. "It's only this Monday, then ask them to move it again." "I can't. Neither can I. Leah, you don't have anything scheduled." I stood beside my car, looking back at the den window. Dad's shape was visible behind the blinds. "Yes, I do," I said. "What?" "I'm scheduled not to be there." She went silent. Then she said, "You really mean it?" I unlocked the car. "Yes." For once, neither of us pretended she didn't understand what. Vanessa exhaled into the phone. "Fine." It was not fine. Fine was the word she used when she wanted the other person to feel the weight of an argument after she had left it. "Do you have a backup plan?" I asked. I thought I did. "You thought I was the backup plan. You always have been." She said it without cruelty. That made it worse. "Call the agency," I said. "Ask whether Ruth can stay late. At $32 an hour, ask Mom and Dad what they want to do. You know they'll say they can't afford it. Then you need to decide whether you can miss the meeting. So I'm the bad daughter either way." "No, you're the daughter scheduled for Monday." She hung up. At 7:14 the next evening, Mom texted the family group, waiting for Vanessa. I did not answer. At 7:26, "Your father needs to get ready for bed." At 7:31. I guess we will manage. I put my phone face down on the kitchen counter. I had nowhere to be. That was true. I had come home, changed into sweatpants, and made scrambled eggs because I had forgotten to thaw anything. My laundry waited in a basket. A book I had been reading for 6 months lay open on the couch at page 83. My lack of plans felt like evidence for the prosecution. I turned the phone over. Vanessa had replied. "On my way. Meeting ended late." Mom sent a thumbs up. I carried my plate to the couch and read the same paragraph 4 times. At 8:18, Vanessa called. I answered because I was weak and because somebody calling from Dad's house after 8 had become a small electrical shock. What happened? Nothing happened. Her voice was breathless. "We're trying to get him from the recliner to the walker. Who is we?" "Me and Mom. Is Dad wearing the gait belt?" "Yes." "Is the walker directly in front of him?" "It is now." Dad shouted, "It was fine where it was. Put me on speaker." "You are on speaker," Vanessa said. Apparently I had become a remote family appliance. Dad, scoot to the edge of the chair. I did. Your feet flat? One is. Both feet. My left one doesn't listen. Then Vanessa needs to position it. There was rustling. Mom saying not like that, Vanessa telling her to give him space, and Dad asking whether everyone could stop discussing his feet as if he had died. Okay, Vanessa said. He's standing. Wait for his balance. I'm balanced, Dad snapped. Count to 3. This is humiliating. Nobody answered. 1, Vanessa said. 2, 3. A few seconds later, I heard the walker click against the floor. We're moving, she said. Call me when he's settled. You don't have to stay on, I know. The line went quiet except for effort. Vanessa's breathing, Mom's slippers scuffing. Dad saying, don't pull me then, I'm turning. Then something I couldn't make out. They reached the hospital bed. Vanessa came back on the phone. Done. Good. Mom put the walker too far away. I did not, Mom called. You did. He had to reach. I was moving it closer when you barged in. I was 40 minutes late. 36. Thank you, Dad. I sat on my couch staring at the dark television. Do you need anything else? I asked. No, Vanessa said. I waited for her to tell me I should have come. She didn't. Instead, she said, that took 15 minutes. Sometimes it does. For one trip across the room. Yes. Dad called from the den. I'm still here. I know, Dad, she said. Her voice softened in a way I rarely heard when she spoke to me. I have to go, she said. I need to get him changed. She hung up. Mom sent a message to the family thread at 9:12. Vanessa got your father settled. Don't know what we would do without her. I watched the screen until it went dark. Then I laughed. It was not a happy sound, but it was better than throwing the phone. Ray found me making coffee the next morning. You look terrible, he said. Good morning. Your father okay? Yes. Mother? Biologically. He put 2 glazed donuts on the counter. Ray believed fried dough was the correct response to every category of suffering. I took one. My sister did her scheduled shift last night, I said. Congratulations to her. My mother sent a bulletin. Did your sister want a parade? I don't think so. That was the surprising part. Vanessa had not performed for praise. Mom had supplied it automatically. Ray peeled the paper from his donut. My mother used to thank my brother for visiting while my sister was changing her sheets. What did your sister do? Eventually? Stopped changing the sheets? And then? We learned where she kept them. He bit into the donut and walked away. Dad gained strength that week. Ruth sent Mom videos of him standing from the recliner with only one hand on the chair. His left foot still dragged when he tired, but he could make it to the kitchen with the walker and sit at the table for lunch. Mom posted each success in the group thread. Tom walked to the kitchen. Your father shaved himself today. He ate all his oatmeal. I reacted with hearts because not reacting felt cruel. Vanessa covered Wednesday. I covered Thursday. When I arrived, Dad was at the kitchen table sorting mail. He had made 3 piles, bills, junk, and things Mom would accuse him of throwing away. You're 2 minutes late, he said. You look recovered. I'm not dead yet. Strong opening. Mom stood at the stove stirring something in a saucepan. The kitchen faucet was still dripping. A cereal bowl sat beneath it. I thought you were scheduling someone, she said. I did. Tony's coming tomorrow between 9 and 11. Ruth will be here. Then she can let him in. I don't like strangers in the house when I'm not downstairs. Tony was here when Dad replaced the water heater. That was years ago. He hasn't changed species. Dad held up an envelope. Insurance says they denied something. I took it. It was not a denial. It was an explanation of benefits stating that the amount billed was not the amount owed. Dad had circled both numbers and written robbery in the margin. You don't owe this, I said. Then why'd they send it? To frighten you. Knew it. Mom carried a bowl of mashed potatoes to the table. There were crescent-shaped bruises on the inside of her right forearm. I caught her wrist before she pulled away. What happened? Nothing. Those are new. Your father grabbed me. Dad looked up. I was falling. You said you were balanced, Mom replied. I was until I wasn't. When? Yesterday morning, she said. Ruth was 5 minutes late. 7, Dad corrected. Mom had tried to get him from the bed to the walker alone. His left knee buckled and he grabbed her arm. She braced against the bedside table until he recovered. Neither had fallen. That's exactly why you wait, I said. Mom yanked her hand free. We handled it. You got lucky. Don't scold me. I'm not scolding you. You have that crease. Dad pointed between his eyebrows. I rubbed it with 2 fingers. Mom turned back to the stove. Ruth was late. Then Dad waits in bed. He needed the bathroom. Then you use the urinal they gave you. Dad's face darkened. I'm not using a bottle in my own house because some woman can't set an alarm. Then we call the agency and report that she was late. We don't improvise. Mom dropped the spoon into the saucepan. Every conversation with you ends in a procedure because your improvisation left bruises. I said we handled it. The kitchen went quiet except for the faucet. Dad looked at the mail. Vanessa doesn't lecture us. No, I said. She calls me. Mom's head snapped around. What does that mean? It means she needed help Monday, so she called. She asked a question. She called because the transfer was hard. That's normal. Pretending it isn't hard is how you get hurt. Dad slid the insurance envelope toward me. Can we eat? I wanted to leave. Instead, I filled 3 glasses with water and sat down. Dinner was meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and canned green beans, cooked until they no longer remembered being green. Dad took too large a bite, caught me watching, and exaggerated his careful chin tuck until he looked like a pigeon. Subtle, I said. Medical. Mom laughed despite herself. After dinner, I cleaned the kitchen while Mom helped Dad with his evening pills. I let her do it, even when she almost gave him the morning blood pressure tablet. She checked the organizer, caught the mistake, and corrected it without me saying a word. Dad walked to the den with the walker. I stayed close enough to help, but far enough not to hover. Halfway there, his left foot stuck. Don't, he said. I'm not touching you. I can feel you thinking. Keep moving. He adjusted his foot and took the next step. When he reached the recliner, he lowered himself too quickly but landed safely. Pride and fatigue fought across his face. 48 feet, he said. Show off. He smiled. Mom had gone upstairs to get laundry. I sat on the couch. Dad kept his eyes on the baseball game. Vanessa told me you wouldn't help her Monday. She asked me to cover her evening. She had work. So did I. You said you were home. I looked at him. Did she tell you that? Your mother did. I was home. Then why couldn't you come? Because it was Vanessa's night. He shook his head. That schedule has become your Bible. It kept me from becoming every blank square. You're punishing her. No. I'm allowing her to experience what she volunteered for. Sounds like punishment, only because the work is hard. He adjusted the blanket across his legs. You've always been jealous of her. The words were so familiar, I almost missed how tired they sounded. Maybe, I said. Dad looked surprised. I was jealous that Vanessa could arrive with a milkshake and be the one who lifted everyone's spirits. I was jealous that she could say she'd do whatever you needed, and nobody asked what that meant. I was jealous that when she signed my name, Mom defended her. She was trying to help. You keep saying that like helping is a feeling. Dad's jaw moved. You think we don't appreciate you. I think you appreciate me the way people appreciate electricity. You notice when I stop. His eyes went back to the game. Mom came downstairs carrying towels. She looked from him to me and knew we had been talking. What happened? Nothing, Dad said. This time I let the family words stand. I finished the dishes, checked the walker, and left at 9. Dad did not thank me, but when I reached the porch, he called my name. I turned. He stood in the doorway behind his walker, Mom hovering 2 feet back. Tony comes tomorrow? He asked. 9 to 11. What's he charge? Company rate. For a loose faucet? Yes. He considered this offense against civilization. Then he said, Tell him the shutoff sticks. I know. I'm just saying. Good night, Dad. He nodded. On Friday, Tony fixed the faucet in 20 minutes. Ray refused to let him bill my parents. Mom posted a picture of the dry sink to the family thread. "Thank you, Leah." It was the first time she had thanked me in writing. 30 seconds later, another message appeared. "And thank you, Vanessa, for arranging Dad's prescription delivery." Vanessa replied with 3 hearts. I put my phone away before I could count them. Aunt Denise called me that afternoon. She opened with, "I'm not taking sides," which was how Aunt Denise announced that she'd already selected one. "I didn't ask you to. Your mother is under tremendous strain, I know. She says you're making her request help according to a chart. It's a schedule. Families aren't businesses." Mom said the same thing. Well, maybe there's a reason. Aunt Denise lived 45 minutes away and visited Dad every Saturday for approximately 90 minutes. She brought homemade banana bread and offered opinions about rehabilitation centers, SALT, and the national decline of customer service. Then she went home to Uncle Lou, who could shower without a gate belt. "What did Mom say I'm doing?" I asked. "She said you only come on assigned days, even when you're free." "That's true." Denise paused. "You admit it? I'm not on trial. Don't use that tone." I leaned back in my office chair. The shop was quiet except for the printer grinding through invoices. What tone would make you more comfortable? The one where you remember that your father almost died. He had a stroke. He still needs help. That's why we hired an aide, and that's why Vanessa and I have assigned evenings. Your mother says Vanessa is doing more. Vanessa is doing 3 evenings. I'm doing 2. 3 is more than 2. I also manage the medical calls, prescriptions, insurance, equipment, plumbing, and Sunday meals. You've always been better at that sort of thing. I closed my eyes. The family sentence had traveled. Did Mom mention Vanessa signed my name on the discharge paperwork? Silence. I could hear Uncle Lou in the background asking where they kept the mustard. Apparently, Mustard remained committed to family disruption. "She signed for you?" Denise asked. "She signed as me. The form said I accepted daily caregiver responsibility." "Oh," Mom defended her. Another pause. "Well," Denise said carefully, "Vanessa shouldn't have done that." It was not outrage, but it was the first sentence from a relative that placed the verb beside the correct person. "No, she shouldn't have. Your mother didn't tell me. I'm shocked. Don't get sarcastic with me. I'm trying to understand." I softened despite myself. Mom wanted Dad home. Vanessa wanted to be the one who got him there. They thought once he arrived, I would cover whatever they had promised. That sounds like Carol. The words slipped out before Denise could retrieve them. What does that mean? Nothing. It sounded like something. She sighed. Your mother has always believed the person who can handle more should handle more, and the person who can't gets defended. Denise sounded tired now, not judgmental. I pictured Mom and Denise younger, sharing a bedroom I had seen only after it became Grandpa's office. Mom had been the pretty one in every photograph. Denise wore glasses and held purses, coats, picnic baskets. "Are you talking about yourself?" I asked. I said, "I'm not taking sides." "Right. Just don't let proving a point become more important than your father." There it was, the small return to safety. "I'm not. I hope not." "Are you free Tuesday morning?" "What?" "Ruth has a dentist appointment. The agency needs someone to cover from 8 to 10. Denise went quiet. "I have my bridge club. Families aren't businesses. That's not fair. No, it's a schedule." She hung up on me. Mom called 6 minutes later. "What did you say to your aunt?" "The truth. She is very upset. She'll recover at bridge club. I don't know why you had to tell her about the form. She called to tell me I was failing the family based on the version you gave her. I never said you were failing. You said I only help on assigned days. You do. And Vanessa signed my name." Mom lowered her voice. "Your father doesn't need that spread around. Then stop spreading around your version. You are enjoying humiliating us." "No, I'm just done protecting everyone from the order things happened." She hung up too. The Mercers had reached their daily limit for complete conversations. On Sunday, Aunt Denise arrived with banana bread and an apology disguised as a casserole. "I had chicken in the freezer," she said, pushing the foil pan into my hands. "It's 11 in the morning. You can heat it later. Thank you." She looked past me into the kitchen. "Where's your mother?" "Upstairs, arguing with Dad about socks." Denise lowered her voice. "I switched bridge club." I looked at her. "Don't make it a thing. I can stay until 10 Tuesday. That would help. I'm not using the belt. Then you're not transferring him. I'm sitting with him until Ruth arrives. That works." Denise nodded as if we had just negotiated an international ceasefire. Mom came downstairs carrying Dad's compression socks. "They are impossible," she announced. "The socks or Dad?" Denise asked. "Yes." Dad followed 10 minutes later with his walker. He'd started coming downstairs only when Ruth was present, but he wanted to prove he could do it with family watching. Vanessa walked behind him with one hand near the gate belt and the other holding his phone. "Don't pull," he told her. "I'm not touching you. I can feel the intention." I met Vanessa's eyes. She almost smiled. Dad reached the last step and sat in the chair we had placed in the hallway. Everyone congratulated him until he told us to stop acting like he had crossed the Alps. Mom put a hand on Vanessa's shoulder. She got him all the way down. "Dad got himself down," Vanessa said. It was a small correction. Mom ignored it. "You're so patient with him," she said. Vanessa looked at me again. I was carrying the casserole to the refrigerator, the medication organizer under one arm, and a sack of groceries hooked around my wrist. She did not say anything. Lunch became a production because Dad wanted to eat at the dining room table. Mom had covered it with unopened mail, therapy bands, 2 boxes of disposable gloves, and the shower chair instructions she had refused to throw away. I cleared one end. Denise set out plates. Vanessa helped Dad into his chair. Mom moved around us, narrating. Leah brought chili last Sunday. Vanessa handled his prescription delivery. Ruth makes him eggs, but she puts pepper on them even though I've asked her not to. Your uncle called on Thursday. The Hendersons sent that plant. The plant was dying near the window. Denise lifted a stack of envelopes. "Where does this go?" Mom pointed toward the sideboard. "Anywhere." "That's how it got on the table," I said. Mom pretended not to hear. We ate Denise's chicken casserole instead of the sandwiches I had planned. It contained broccoli, rice, and enough cheese to conceal a misdemeanor. Dad had seconds. "This is good," he said. "Leah heated it," Mom said. Denise put down her fork. "I made it." Mom blinked. "I know. I meant Leah put it in the oven. I also pressed start," I said. There was pressure. Vanessa laughed into her water. Mom looked around the table as if we had formed a coalition without notifying her. After lunch, Dad insisted on walking to the den without the walker. "No," 3 women said at once. He gripped the table. "I can do 5 steps." "Then do 5 steps with the walker," Vanessa said. "I need to know if I can." Ruth had warned us about this. Improvement made Dad reckless. The better he felt, the more offended he became by precautions. I placed the walker in front of him. He pushed it away. "Dad," I said, "I'm not a child. Then stop making us tell you twice." His eyes hardened. Mom said, "Let him try." Vanessa looked at her. "No." Mom's surprise was almost comical. He knows his body. He also thought he could stand on discharge day. Dad shoved back his chair. His right leg straightened. His left followed slowly. For 1 second, he stood without holding anything. Triumph crossed his face. Then his left knee bent. Vanessa caught the gate belt. I grabbed his right arm. The walker struck the table and knocked over a water glass. Denise jumped up so fast her chair tipped backward. Dad did not fall. He sagged between us, furious and frightened. "Walker," Vanessa said. I pulled it close. He gripped both handles and stood breathing over it. Mom dabbed at the spilled water with her napkin. He was fine until everybody lunged. Vanessa stared at her. He was falling. He was testing his balance. He failed. "Vanessa," Dad said. "No, you could have taken both of us down." Her voice shook. Dad lowered himself into the chair. He would not look at her. Denise righted her own chair. "Well," Who wants coffee? It was such a Mercer response that I laughed. Vanessa did too, one sharp burst that turned into something close to a sob. She covered it by picking up the fallen glass. Mom stood there with the wet napkin. He didn't fall, she said. Because we caught him, Vanessa replied. The sentence hung in the room. Vanessa carried the glass to the kitchen. I followed. At the sink, she braced both hands on the counter. You okay? I asked. Fine. Family fine or actual fine? She looked at me. I thought I could hold him. You did. No, you grabbed him. If you weren't there, the walker was there. He pushed it away. And next time, you don't let him. She rubbed her palms against her jeans. You say that like it's easy. It gets easier. How long? I don't know. She turned on the faucet, then off again. Mom thinks Ruth is making him dependent, she said. Mom thinks seatbelts cause accidents because nobody wore them in 1974. She wants to stop the aid. My hand tightened on the counter. When? When the 2 weeks are up. Did she call the agency? I don't know. She told me Friday that $32 an hour is robbery. Why didn't you tell me? Vanessa's face closed. Because then you'd make a procedure. Today is why we need one. I know. The admission was barely audible. Mom appeared in the doorway. Ruth is temporary. Dad isn't ready, I said. He's already much stronger. He almost fell. Because you all frightened him. Vanessa turned. That is not what happened. Mom's eyes moved to her, startled again. The aid is costing almost $700 a week, she said. We cannot go on like this. Then we call the agency and reduce the hours, I said. Maybe 3 mornings. We don't just stop. I can manage him. The bruises on her arm had faded to yellow. No, I said. Mom's mouth flattened. You don't make that decision. Neither do you by yourself. It is my house and my husband. And our backs when something goes wrong, Vanessa said. Mom stared at her. Vanessa looked startled by her own sentence. From the dining room, Dad called, I can hear you discussing me. Mom walked out. Vanessa began rinsing a glass that was already clean. $700 is a lot, she said. It is. I can't add mornings. I know. She braced for the rest. I didn't give it to her. We went back to the table. Dad used the walker to reach the den. Nobody praised him. Nobody looked away either. As I was leaving, Mom followed me onto the porch. I told the agency Friday will be Ruth's last day, she said. My keys stopped in my hand. You already canceled? She was never permanent. What happens Monday morning? Mom folded her arms. Your father has 2 daughters, she said. Behind the screen door, Vanessa went completely still. I turned toward the screen door. Vanessa's face was visible through the mesh. Mom followed my eyes. Don't drag her into it. You just said Dad has 2 daughters. That doesn't mean you have to pounce on her. I'm not pouncing. I'm asking what you think happens Monday. I'll be here, Mom said. You said 2 daughters. To help. In general. General help is how Vanessa signed my name. Vanessa opened the door. Can we not use that in every argument for the rest of our lives? It's been 2 weeks. It feels longer. Dad called from the den. Shut the door. You're letting the air out. I stepped back inside. Mom looked relieved, as if coming in meant surrender. I walked to the dining room table, turned over the envelope with her chore list, and drew 7 boxes on the blank side. What are you doing? She asked. Making Monday real. Oh, for God's sake. I wrote morning across the top. Dad needs help getting out of bed, dressed, washed, and fed. He has exercises. He needs someone close when he walks. I know what he needs, Mom said, then put your name down. She snatched the pen and wrote Carol across all 7 boxes. There. Mom, Vanessa said. What, you can't do every morning. I'm his wife. That isn't a muscle group. Dad laughed from the den. Mom did not. I pulled the envelope closer. Who covers if he loses his balance? He has improved. He almost fell an hour ago. Because he was showing off. He won't do that with me. Vanessa sat down. He absolutely will. I can come Wednesday before work, I said. That's 1 morning. Vanessa? She stared at the boxes. I can't commit to mornings every week, neither can I. You start earlier than I do, she said. I start at 7:30. I have calls at 8. You can take calls from here, Mom said. Vanessa looked at her. Not while Dad is yelling from the bathroom. I do not yell, Dad yelled. Denise appeared from the kitchen carrying her purse. I'm covering Tuesday until Ruth arrives this week. Ruth won't be arriving next week, I said. Denise stopped. Mom pressed her lips together. Why don't you reduce the hours? Denise asked. Maybe keep mornings when neither girl can come. Thank you, I said. Mom's eyes sharpened. I don't need my sister joining the committee. I'm trying to help. By agreeing with Leah. Denise's expression changed. It was subtle, but I recognized it. She had spent a lifetime being accused of opposition whenever she did not supply agreement. I'm going home, she said. You just got here. I've been here 3 hours. Lou can survive. Yes, Denise said. He can. She put on her coat, kissed Dad goodbye, and left the casserole dish behind. Mom watched the door close. Everyone is so sensitive. Vanessa stared at the schedule. What about 3 mornings a week? I am not paying a stranger to watch me care for my husband. She isn't watching you, I said. That's what she does. She stands there waiting for me to make a mistake. Ruth is keeping both of you safe. I kept him safe for 43 years until something happened that you weren't trained to handle. Mom's face hardened. You enjoy reminding me that he fell while I was home. The room went quiet. Dad muted the television. I didn't mean that, I said. Yes, you did. No, I meant that a stroke changed what he needs. And I learned. You're still learning. So are you. She was right. I hated that she was right in a way that changed nothing. Dad rolled the walker backward from the den. I canceled her. We all turned. He stood gripping the handles, his cardigan buttoned wrong. You? I asked. Your mother called. I told her to. Why? I don't need a babysitter. Ruth isn't a babysitter. She tells me when to stand, when to sit, how to eat, how to shower. I can be nagged for free. Mom's mouth twitched. The money matters too, Dad said. We're not made of it. You have enough for another few weeks. You don't know what we have. I helped you set up online banking. That doesn't make it yours. I didn't say it did. Vanessa leaned over the table. Dad, you nearly fell, and you caught me. What if nobody's here? Your mother is here. Mom put a hand on his back. He leaned into it before correcting himself. We're done discussing it, he said. There were 4 blank boxes on the envelope. I left them blank. Ruth took the news better than the rest of us. People fire me when they start feeling better, she said on Tuesday evening. Sometimes they hire me again when feeling better gets ambitious. She stood at the kitchen counter cutting an apple into slices for Dad. He was at the table doing finger exercises with a foam ball, pretending not to listen. Do you think he's ready? I asked. To be alone? With Mom. Ruth glanced at him. Your father can walk the main floor with the walker if he doesn't rush. He still needs standby assistance getting dressed and hands-on help in the shower. Your mother can assist if they both follow the rules. Dad squeezed the foam ball. We know the rules. You know them, Ruth said. That's different. Mom rinsed a plate in the sink. We'll be fine. Ruth looked at me through her purple glasses. I understood why Mom felt judged. Ruth could say nothing with astonishing precision. Can we reduce to 3 mornings? I asked. Mom shut off the faucet. Leah. I'm asking Ruth. I heard you. Ruth placed the apple slices on a plate. The agency can build any schedule they have staff for. Your parents have to authorize it. Dad pushed the foam ball away. No. Okay, Ruth said. No lecture. No scare tactic. She handed him the apple and began writing notes for Mom on a yellow pad. Shower only when someone else was present. Keep the walker within reach. Call therapy if the left knee weakened. Do not pull him by the arms. Mom hovered beside her. I know all that. I know you do. Then why write it? Because knowing things gets tired. Mom folded her arms, but she did not throw away the note. Vanessa covered Wednesday evening. When I arrived Thursday, she had left 3 containers of prepared food in the refrigerator with dates written on masking tape. Mom displayed them to me. Vanessa cooked. The containers held chicken from a rotisserie, steamed rice, and green beans. That was thoughtful. She stayed late, too. Good. Mom waited for my reaction to become inadequate. I opened the medication organizer. 2 morning compartments were still full. Why didn't Dad take these? He did. They're still here. I used pills from the bottles. Why? They were upstairs. The whole point of the organizer is, I know the point. I counted the tablets. The bottles suggested she had given the correct doses, but there was no way to be sure. After Ruth leaves, keep the organizer downstairs, I said. I have cared for sick people before. I know. Your grandmother had pneumonia. In 1998, she recovered. I closed the organizer. Dad was stronger, which made the aide's final days look almost unnecessary. He walked farther. He could get out of the recliner without being lifted. On Thursday, he made his own sandwich while Ruth stood several feet away pretending to organize the pantry. Mom took a video. In the family thread, the sandwich became proof. Look what your father did all by himself. The camera did not show Ruth beside the refrigerator. Friday, Ruth brought muffins. I'm supposed to be the employee, she said when Mom objected. They're bran, Dad said after one bite. That's why they were cheap. He ate too. Mom gave Ruth a card. Vanessa brought flowers during lunch. I left work early to be there for the final hour, though I told myself I was only returning a folder. Dad shook Ruth's hand from his recliner. You're bossy, he said. You're welcome. You charge too much. I don't set the rate. You should give me your cut. I'll think about it. His grip lasted longer than the joke. Mom hugged Ruth stiffly. Thank you for getting us started. You have my number, Ruth said. We won't bother you. That's not what I said. When Ruth turned to me, she did not hug me. She slipped the yellow notepad into my hand. The first page listed Dad's current abilities. The second listed safety concerns. At the bottom, underlined twice, she had written, Carol is capable but overestimates what she can do when Tom is tired. Tom is capable but overestimates what he can do when Carol is tired. I folded the pages and put them in my purse. Dad watched Ruth's car pull away. House feels quiet, he said. Mom immediately turned on the television. The weekend passed without a crisis. I called Saturday afternoon. Mom said Dad had showered, eaten, done his exercises, and walked to the kitchen twice. Dad got on the phone long enough to complain that she cut his sandwich diagonally. Sunday, I brought baked ziti. The house looked fine. Mom looked tired but triumphant. Dad walked to the table. Vanessa came for lunch even though it was not her scheduled day, carrying garlic bread and a bouquet to replace the dead daisies. Mom looked around at all of us. See, she said, we're managing. Vanessa smiled. I wanted to believe it too. On Monday, Mom sent a picture of Dad eating oatmeal. Tuesday, Denise sat with him during bridge club hours and reported no problems. Wednesday, Vanessa wrote that Dad had walked from the den to the front door and back. Every update told me the same thing, stay out. So I did. I arrived Thursday evening with soup and found the front door unlocked. No one answered when I called. The television was on in the den. Dad sat in the recliner wearing the same gray sweatpants he had worn Sunday. His walker stood across the room beside the hospital bed. Mom was asleep at the kitchen table with her head on her folded arms. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning compartments in the medication organizer were still full. On the counter beside it, 5 open prescription bottles formed a crooked line. Dad looked at me, then toward the kitchen. Don't wake her, he said. Why is your walker over there? His eyes dropped. Your mother got tired of tripping over it. I set down the soup. When did you last shower? I don't know. Did you do your exercises today? He looked back at the television. Everybody said you were doing fine. We are. From the kitchen, Mom made a small sound in her sleep. Dad lowered his voice. She needs the rest. So do you, I said. Dad frowned. I've been sitting all day. That isn't rest. It's close. I moved the walker beside the recliner. He reached for it immediately, then pretended he had not. Did Mom help you get dressed this morning? She helped. What does that mean? It means I'm wearing clothes. Those clothes? He looked down at the gray sweatpants. They're comfortable. You wore them Sunday, so? They're not yogurt. They don't expire. I crouched in front of the open medication bottles. Blood pressure, cholesterol, blood thinner, stomach protection. 2 bottles had caps placed loosely on top, which Mom did when her hands hurt. Did you take your morning pills? Yes. Which ones? The little ones. Dad. Your mother gave them to me. When? Breakfast. What did you eat? Oatmeal. The picture was Monday. He looked toward the kitchen. I understood then. Mom had not sent new pictures every day. She had sent proof in advance, rationed across the week. I carried the bottles and organizer to the table. Mom woke when I touched her shoulder. Her head jerked up. What happened? Nothing. It's me. She stared at my face, then checked the den. What time is it? 6:20. Oh. A deep red line marked her cheek where it had rested on her sleeve. She tried to smooth her hair. I sat down for a minute. Have you eaten? I'm not hungry. I brought soup. Your father won't eat soup. Dad called. I like soup. You said you wanted a sandwich. That was noon. Mom pushed herself upright. He changes his mind every 5 minutes. Her voice cracked on minutes. I opened the refrigerator. 3 prepared containers remained inside. 1 was untouched. The rice in another had dried around the edges. A bowl covered with plastic wrap held half a scrambled egg. Why didn't you tell us you were struggling? I'm not struggling. I looked at the pill bottles. I know exactly what he takes. Then why are 4 days still in the organizer? Because I used the bottles. Did you track what you gave him? I don't need to track it. I'm not stupid. I didn't say you were. You didn't have to. Dad muted the television. I lowered my voice. I need to know whether he took the blood thinner today. He did. What time? Breakfast. Which day did he miss his blood pressure pill? He didn't miss it. The count is off. You counted them? Yes. Mom pressed both hands flat on the table. You walked in here and started inspecting. I walked in and found you unconscious over the mail. I was asleep. The front door was unlocked. Your father likes watching for the mailman. I can't see the door from here, Dad said. Mom spun toward him. You asked me to leave it open. I said the screen door. The screen was locked. It doesn't lock. It sticks. Their argument gathered momentum because it was safer than mine. I heated soup and called the pharmacy. The pharmacist could confirm the prescribed doses, but not what Dad had taken. She told me not to double anything and to resume the normal evening schedule. I wrote the date and time on a fresh sheet of paper and placed it beneath the organizer. Mom stood at the stove, rigid. I would have done that. I know. No, you don't. You think I'm losing my mind. I think you're exhausted. I'm fine. Your family fine. She looked at me sharply. The phrase had traveled from Vanessa. Did she tell you that? No. Mom's face tightened anyway. Dad tried to stand from the recliner without telling us. The walker was in reach now, but his left foot had slipped too far under the chair. He pushed once, failed, and dropped back. Mom rushed toward him. I've got it, I said. So do I. We reached him together and stopped, each waiting for the other to step away. Dad gripped the walker. This is helpful. Mom took the gate belt from the hook beside the bed. It twisted as she wrapped it around him. Flat, I said. I know. The buckle is backward. I know. Then stop. Her hands froze. Just stop for a second, I said more gently. She let go of the belt. I untwisted it and handed it back. Mom fastened it correctly. We positioned Dad's feet, counted to 3, and stood him together. The moment he was balanced, Mom let go and walked into the kitchen. Dad watched her leave. I could have done that, he said. No, you couldn't. He looked at me with tired anger. You enjoy being right too much. I would love to be wrong. I walked beside him to the table. He lowered himself into the chair and stared at the soup. This smells good, he said. It's chicken. Your mother hates chicken soup. I do not, Mom said from the counter. I hate noodles that get mushy. Dad took a spoonful. Little mushy, he said. Mom laughed before she could stop herself. The laugh turned into a hand over her mouth. Her shoulders shook. Dad put down the spoon. I went to her, but she backed against the counter. Don't, she said. Mom, I said don't. She wiped her eyes with the heels of her hands. I have not slept through the night since he came home. He gets up, or he thinks he needs to get up, or he wants the blanket off and then back on. He hears every car. He thinks the hospital bed is moving. At 4 this morning, he wanted toast. I was hungry, Dad said. You ate one bite. It was burned. It was tan. I waited. Mom grabbed a paper towel and pressed it beneath her eyes. Ruth made it look like nothing. It wasn't nothing for Ruth. She went home at noon, because that was her shift. And then I had the rest of the day. Yes. Mom looked at me. You say that as though I designed this. You canceled her, because we can't spend that money forever. You didn't even try reduced hours. It would still have been hundreds of dollars. Dad stirred the soup. Stop talking about our money. Then what are we allowed to talk about? I asked. He did not answer. I called Vanessa. She answered on the second ring. Hey, everything okay? No. Mom said, Leah, come over. What happened? Vanessa asked. Mom needs help. I'm helping. Tonight. It's Thursday. I know. Her silence held the fact that Thursday was mine. This is not a swap, I said. Come see. I was there last night. Dad walked to the door. Who got him dressed yesterday morning? Mom. Who showered him? I don't know. Who managed his medications? Mom said she did. Mom came toward me. Give me the phone. I stepped away. What am I coming to see? Vanessa asked. The part Mom didn't show you. She arrived 35 minutes later wearing black slacks and running shoes, her work blouse untucked beneath a rain jacket. It had not rained. Mom had washed her face and changed sweaters. Dad had finished half the soup. The medication bottles were lined up neatly beside the organizer. From the doorway, the house looked managed. Vanessa set down her purse. Dad? I'm fine. Mom said, Your sister is being dramatic. Vanessa glanced at me. I pointed to the full compartments, the untouched food, Mom's bruised forearm, and the yellow instructions still taped to the refrigerator. She's tired, Vanessa said. I am standing right here, Mom snapped. When did Dad last shower? Monday, Dad said. Tuesday. Mom looked at him. No, Tuesday was Denise. I showered when Denise was here. Denise had told me she sat in the den until Ruth arrived the previous week. This week she had switched bridge club back to Tuesday. She had not been there at all. No one was here Tuesday morning, I said. Mom's face changed. Dad looked down at his soup. You showered him alone? Vanessa asked. He needed a shower. The note says only when someone else is present. Notes are not commandments. What happened? Nothing happened. I lifted Mom's sleeve, a wide purple bruise spread above her elbow hidden by the sweater. Vanessa inhaled. Mom. I bumped the doorframe. While holding Dad, he slipped a little. I did not slip, Dad said. The mat moved. The mat has suction cups. Well, it moved. Vanessa walked to the kitchen chair and sat down hard. You told me it was fine. It is fine. You sent me the video of the sandwich. He made the sandwich. With Ruth here, I said. Mom glared at me. Whose side are you on? That question is the problem. Dad pushed the soup away. Enough. No, Vanessa said. We all looked at her. She stood again, restless, rubbing her palms down her slacks. You told me Leah was exaggerating because she wanted control. You told me Ruth stood around while you did everything. Yesterday you had Dad dressed when I arrived. The food was out. You said he'd done his exercises. He had. With who? Me. You were holding him? I stood nearby. With your arm like that? Mom looked toward Dad. He needs me. Vanessa's expression softened. For one dangerous second, I thought the whole conversation would dissolve into comfort. Mom would cry, Vanessa would hug her, I would fix the medications, and by morning the system would have repaired itself around me. Vanessa did hug her. Mom folded into her shoulder, but Vanessa kept speaking. You need help too. Mom pulled back. I need my daughters, she said. We're here. Not enough. The words came out before she could dress them. Dad closed his eyes. Mom faced me. You have vacation time. I stared at her. 2 weeks, she said. Maybe 3. Just until he's steadier. No, you didn't even think. I've been thinking about it since rehab. Ray would understand. Ray is already covering for me. You said he offered. That doesn't make my job disposable. Nobody said disposable. Family leave exists for a reason. That is my decision. What could be more important? My consent. Mom flinched as if I had thrown the word. Vanessa sat down again. Leah, you are better at this. I looked at her. She lifted both hands. You are. You know the medications. Dad listens to you. You can get him to do the exercises without a fight. So I should stop working? I didn't say should. You just built a staircase to it. I can't take 2 weeks off. Neither can I. Mom gripped the back of a chair. Why do you keep pretending your situations are the same? I heard the answer in her voice. Vanessa's work had clients, presentations, stakes. Mine had phones, invoices, and Ray. Vanessa had a career. I had availability. Dad opened his eyes. Your mother can't keep doing this. Then reinstate the aid, I said. We said no. Then consider a place where support is built in. Mom went pale. You want to put us away. I want you both alive. I want my house. Dad's voice was quiet, but it ended the room. Mom looked at me as if I had threatened to take it from him. I reached into my purse for my keys. My fingers touched the folded pages Ruth had given me. Behind them was a photocopy I had requested from Maribel the day after Dad came home. The caregiver acknowledgement. My false signature crossed out in black ink. I had kept it because throwing it away felt like agreeing it was over. I pulled the copy free. Vanessa saw the top of the page. Her face went still. I laid it on the kitchen table between us. No, Mom said. I flattened the crease with my hand. If we're going to decide whose life belongs to this family, I said, we're going to start with the first decision you made for me. Mom reached for the paper. I kept my hand on it. Put that away, she said. No, your father is exhausted. Dad looked at the form. What does it say? You know what it says, Mom replied. I know what happened. I asked what it says. I slid the page toward Vanessa. Read the part above the signature. She didn't move. Leah, she said, you signed it, read it. This is ridiculous. Then it should be easy. Vanessa looked at Mom, but Mom was watching me. She picked up the page. Her voice was flat at first. I acknowledge that I have completed the required caregiver education and understand the patient's mobility, medication, dietary, and supervision needs. Dad shifted in his chair. Keep going, I said. Vanessa swallowed. I accept responsibility for ensuring the home care plan described above will be followed, including the availability of trained assistants during all transfers and personal care activities. And the name? Leah Mercer. Whose handwriting? Mine. Mom pulled out a chair. We established this at the rehabilitation center. We established what Vanessa did. We never established why both of you believed she could do it. She made a mistake. I made a decision, Vanessa said. Mom glanced at her. Vanessa put down the page. Don't call it a mistake, like my hand slipped. Fine, a bad decision. Whose idea was it? I asked. Vanessa looked at the medication bottles, the soup, anywhere but at me. Mom said, What difference does that make? A lot. It was a chaotic morning. Whose idea? Mom pushed her chair back. You were late. I called. They were ready to release him, and suddenly that woman said the signature was missing. Maribel. I don't care what her name was. She had a form and rules, and your father was sitting there dressed. Dad's right hand closed on the edge of the table. I asked Vanessa to take care of it. Mom said. The room did not react all at once. Dad looked at Vanessa. Vanessa looked at me. I heard the refrigerator motor turn on. You told her to sign my name, I asked. I told her to finish the form. With my name. You were the one who had done the training first. Vanessa had completed training by then. They already had you listed, so you used me because I was convenient. I knew you would help your father. Vanessa's voice came low. You said she'd calm down once he was home. Mom turned toward her. That isn't what I said. Yes, it is. You were panicking. I wasn't panicking. I said Leah would never sign for daily care. You said, she won't leave him once we get him through the front door. Dad stared at Mom. She gripped the back of the chair. Vanessa kept going as if the first admission had broken something loose. You said the center was using technicalities to keep him. You said Leah always made things complicated, but she would fix the schedule after. Mom's face reddened. And did she not fix the schedule? I laughed once. It hurt my throat. Dad looked at me. I thought Vanessa did it on her own. So did I said. Mom drew herself up. Nobody forced her. I know, Vanessa said. I signed it. Then stop looking at me as if I held the pen. You put the form in my hand. You are 36 years old. That only matters when you need someone to blame. Mom flinched. Vanessa looked almost as surprised as she had when she told Mom that Dad was falling. The words were coming from a place she had spent years wallpapering over. Dad's voice was quiet. You told me Leah had agreed. Mom sat down. I told you we had it handled. You said she'd signed. I was trying to get you home. I asked Leah why she couldn't do one thing for me. His face changed as the memory returned. The cardigan, the packed bag, the bed he had been sitting on when he asked. Mom reached toward him. Tom. He moved his arm away. It was not dramatic. His hand shifted 6 inches across the table. Mom looked at the space as though he had crossed the room. I wanted you home, she whispered. I wanted to be home. You were miserable there. So that made it all right? I knew Leah wouldn't let anything happen. Dad turned to me. There was no defense in his face this time, only recognition. That was what they had all trusted. Not me. The trap inside me. Vanessa sat down beside the paper. I'm sorry, she said. Mom shook her head. Now we're apologizing as though we committed some terrible crime. The form isn't the worst part, I said. What could possibly be worse? Since you've told the entire family, I'm sure I'll hear about it at Christmas. The worst part is you were right. Mom blinked. I did help. I fixed the aid. I made the schedule. I handled the prescriptions. I came twice a week, and every time something got hard, all of you looked at me like the original agreement had finally kicked in. That is not fair, Dad said. But he sounded exhausted rather than angry. You asked me to take leave. I asked for help. You asked for my life because Vanessa's is less available and Mom's is more valuable. Vanessa looked down. Mom's voice sharpened. I never said mine was more valuable. You don't have to say the rules when everybody knows them. What rules? Vanessa gets credit for what she intends. I get judged by what remains undone. Nobody spoke. The faucet no longer dripped. The quiet it left behind felt unnatural. Dad rubbed his forehead. His fingers found the place where he had joked about my emergency crease. What do you want us to do? He asked. It was the first time any of them had asked without attaching an answer. I want you to reinstate help. Dad's mouth tightened. I want Mom to stop pretending she can do this alone. I want Vanessa to keep the evenings she promised or arrange coverage herself. I want everyone to stop calling me before the person whose name is on the schedule. And you? Mom asked. I keep Thursday and Sunday. I help with appointments if I agree to them. I do not take leave. I do not move in. I do not become the backup for every blank square. What if there's an emergency? Then call emergency services. What if it's not that kind of emergency? Then it can wait for the person responsible. Mom laughed bitterly. Life does not fit into boxes on an envelope. No. That's why paid caregivers exist. We cannot keep spending. We can. Dad interrupted. Mom turned to him. He was looking at the crossed-out signature. "We can afford 3 mornings," he said. "You said it was a waste." "I was wrong. You don't know what 3 mornings will cost over months. Then we figure out months." She stared at him. "You said you wanted to stay home." "I do." "Then why are you giving up? Hiring someone isn't giving up." The sentence sounded borrowed from Alicia, Ruth, me, or all of us. Dad said it like he had only just translated it into a language he respected. Mom pushed away from the table and walked to the sink. Vanessa reached for her purse. "I can call the agency." Mom's back stiffened. "No," I said. "Dad can." He frowned. "Why me?" "Because it's your care." He looked offended, then thoughtful. "Tomorrow?" he said. "Tonight," Mom said from the sink. "If we're doing it, do it before they give Ruth's hours away." Dad looked at her back. He reached for the phone. Ruth was already assigned elsewhere on Monday and Friday mornings, but the agency could send another aide and return Ruth on Wednesdays. Dad complained about rotating strangers until the scheduler told him continuity was easier when clients did not cancel. He put the call on speaker by accident. Vanessa covered her mouth to hide a smile. The agency arranged 4-hour visits Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We would reassess after 2 weeks. Dad gave his payment information himself and asked whether there was a senior discount. "There isn't," the scheduler said. "There should be. I'll pass that along." "You won't." "No, sir." He liked her. When the call ended, Mom was still at the sink. She had washed the same bowl 3 times. Dad said her name. She dried her hands before turning around. "I'm going upstairs," she said. "You need help?" Vanessa asked. "No." She left without looking at any of us. Dad listened until her footsteps reached the 2nd floor. "I should go after her," he said. None of us answered. He pushed his chair back and reached for the walker. Vanessa moved it closer. He stood slowly, waited for balance without being told, and began the trip to the staircase. "You can't go up without somebody," I said. "I know." He stopped at the bottom and looked upward. The house had stairs everywhere once you started counting. 4 from the driveway to the porch, 13 to the bedrooms, 2 down into the family room, 1 into the garage that Mom had been stepping over without noticing for 40 years. Dad leaned against the walker. "I can sleep downstairs," he said. "For now," Vanessa replied. He looked toward the ceiling. "Your mother can't." It was not literally true. Mom had the couch, the guest room upstairs, the other half of the house, but I knew what he meant. She could not rest while he slept below her. She could not keep carrying laundry up and down. She could not maintain the fiction that the house had not changed. Dad turned back toward the table. "Aunt Denise mentioned some apartments," he said. My head came up. Mom had dismissed them during rehab as one of those places. "They have elevators," he continued. "Meals if you want them. Help you pay for when you need it." "Independent living with assistance available," I said. "That sounds like a brochure." "It is. Have you seen it?" "Online." Mom's voice came from the staircase. "You looked?" She stood halfway down, one hand gripping the rail. "I was checking options," I said. "Without us?" "I didn't apply for anything. I looked at a website. This is our home." Dad walked toward her. "Nobody said it isn't," he said. "You just asked about apartments. I asked what she knew. I know what happens. First it's help 3 mornings. Then we move into a hallway where everybody's door looks the same." Vanessa said, "We're not deciding tonight." Mom looked at the table, at the form, and then at me. "You've wanted this," she said. "You wanted us to fail, so we'd have to do things your way." Dad struck the walker against the floor. The sharp metal sound silenced her. "Stop blaming her," he said. Mom's face emptied. Dad looked shaken too, as if he had not known he could say it. "I wanted to come home," he continued. "I wanted her to make it possible. I was willing to ask what it cost her as long as I didn't have to hear the answer. I could not speak." He looked at the staircase. "This house worked when I did," he said. "It doesn't work now." Mom sat on the bottom step. For once, nobody rushed to make the sentence less true. Vanessa and I cleaned the kitchen together while Dad stayed with Mom. We worked without discussing who was better at what. She put away the medication bottles. I washed the soup bowls. She moved the organizer downstairs and taped the new dose sheet inside the cabinet. At the front door, she stopped me. "Did you really keep that form all this time? It's been less than a month. Feels longer." "Yes." She wrapped her arms around herself. I liked that he thought I got him home. I waited. I knew what would happen after. Maybe not every detail, but I knew you'd take over. I just told myself that was because you loved him. I do love him. I know. That was the lever. She nodded, eyes wet. "I'm sorry," she said again. This time there was no audience. "I believe you," I said. It was not forgiveness, but it was not nothing. She wiped beneath one eye with her thumb. "What do I do now?" "Show up Wednesday." "That's it?" "No." I opened the door. "But it's Wednesday." Vanessa showed up Wednesday at 5:52. She sent a picture to the family thread. Dad at the kitchen table, his walker beside him, Ruth in the background holding a mug. Vanessa had brought dinner in an aluminum pan. No hearts, no announcement. Just, "We're good here." I stared at the picture longer than necessary. Dad looked tired but clean. Mom's hair was brushed. Ruth had moved the medication organizer to the center of the table, where nobody could pretend not to see it. I wrote, "Thank you." Vanessa reacted with a thumbs up. The new schedule was not graceful. The Monday aide put too much cinnamon in Dad's oatmeal. Ruth returned Wednesday and called his attempt to hug her a workplace incident. Friday's aide rearranged Mom's refrigerator, which nearly ended home care for everyone. But Dad showered safely. Mom slept until 7 on the morning someone came. The pills disappeared from the correct compartments. 3 paid mornings created enough space that the unpaid evenings stopped feeling like emergency shifts. Vanessa kept Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The first Monday, she brought her laptop and missed half a client call because Dad decided he needed the bathroom at the exact moment she started presenting. Afterward, she called me. I could hear him shouting through my headset. "What did your client say?" She asked whether everything was okay. "What did you say?" "That my father needed me." "And?" She said to take my time. Vanessa sounded offended by the lack of catastrophe. "People can surprise you," I said. "Don't get inspirational. I wouldn't dream of it." She moved her Friday calls and stopped pretending she could work from Dad's kitchen. It cost her some convenience and one sour comment from her manager. She survived both. Mom kept praising her. Vanessa reorganized her whole week, she told me Thursday. "I know. She's making sacrifices." "I know. You could sound more appreciative." I thanked her. In a text. "How would you like it notarized?" Mom did not laugh. Dad did. He was standing at the kitchen counter with the walker behind him, spreading peanut butter onto toast. He had graduated from sandwiches. "Leave her alone, Carol," he said. Mom turned toward him. "I was just talking." "No, you were digging." The butter knife stopped in Dad's hand. He seemed surprised by the sentence. Mom looked at me, then at him. "I'll be upstairs," she said. She walked out. Dad finished the toast in silence. "You didn't have to do that," I said. "Yes, I did. I can handle Mom. You shouldn't always have to." The apology was there, but he had not yet learned how to remove it from its packaging. He carried his plate to the table. I held the chair steady while he sat. After a moment, he said, "I was selfish." "Yes." He glanced at me. "You want the truth or the hospital version?" His mouth twitched. "Truth. You were selfish. You were also scared and humiliated and desperate to come home. Both can be true. Your mother wanted me here. So did you." He looked toward the staircase. "She hasn't slept in our room since I came back. I had assumed Mom went upstairs each night. Instead, she slept on the den couch because Dad woke disoriented and tried to stand without calling. She changed clothes upstairs during the day to maintain the appearance of normal life. Why didn't she say anything? You know your mother. That isn't an answer. It's been an answer around here for 40 years. I sat across from him. Aunt Denise brought you the brochure? He nodded. The senior community was called Hawthorne Commons, a name that sounded like either a pleasant retirement or an insurance company. It had independent apartments, an elevator, an emergency call system, a dining room, and care services billed by the hour. Denise says Lou's cousin lives there, Dad said. He hates the soup. Strong review, likes everything else. You want to tour it? No. Okay. Dad picked at the crust of his toast. I want you to schedule a tour. That's not the same sentence, I don't want to tour it. I want to know what it is. Then I'll schedule one if you and Mom agree to go. Your mother won't, then I won't schedule it. He frowned. You're difficult now. I'm rested. Dad laughed until he coughed. He took a careful sip of water. Mom refused twice. The third time, Vanessa asked. We're not moving, Mom said. It's a tour. They'll pressure us. Then we say no. I don't want people looking at me like I can't manage my own house. They won't know you. That's worse. Vanessa leaned against the kitchen counter. I'll go with you. Mom looked at me. Will Leah be there? If you want me there, I said. Of course I want you there. You ask the questions. I'll ask some. You need to ask your own. Mom rolled her eyes. Fine. I scheduled the tour for a Saturday so both Vanessa and I could attend. Hawthorne Commons had beige hallways, aggressively cheerful artwork, and a lobby fireplace that turned on with a wall switch. Mom hated it before we reached the desk. It smells like carpet, she whispered. It has carpet, I said. Exactly. A woman named Patrice showed us 2 apartments. Dad used his walker, stopping every few yards to pretend he was studying paintings while he caught his breath. Mom stayed close to him without touching. The first apartment was too small. Mom opened every cabinet and asked where people kept roasting pans. In the kitchen, usually, Dad said, not with these shelves. The second had 2 bedrooms, a small balcony, and a bathroom wide enough for Dad's walker. The shower had a built-in seat and 2 grab bars. Dad stepped inside, turned once, and came out without bumping anything. Nobody commented. Mom inspected the linen closet. This is half the size of ours. We use half the towels, Dad said. We have guests. Who? Mom looked offended on behalf of hypothetical visitors. Patrice showed us the dining room. 3 couples were playing cards near the windows. A gray-haired man in a University of Cincinnati sweatshirt was arguing with the television during a basketball game. The room smelled like coffee and something fried. Dad slowed. This doesn't look like the brochure, he said. Patrice smiled. We clean up for photographs. A woman at the card table called, Don't listen to her. They hide us during tours. Mom laughed. The sound changed her face. We ate lunch there as guests. Dad ordered meatloaf and declared it inferior to Mom's but better than the rehabilitation centers. Mom asked the woman at the next table where she kept her roasting pan. On top of the refrigerator, the woman said. I've used it twice in 5 years. Exactly, Dad said. Mom kicked him under the table. On the drive home, no one mentioned moving. Mom commented on the carpet. Dad complained about the coffee. Vanessa said the balcony would fit 2 chairs. I kept my mouth shut. At the house, Dad stood at the bottom of the 4-porch steps while Mom unlocked the door. He had climbed them hundreds of times since coming home, always with someone beside him. He looked back at Vanessa's car. Elevator was fast, he said. Mom pushed open the door. Elevators brake. So do knees. She went inside. The idea sat in the house with them. It sat beside the hospital bed in the den. It watched Mom carry laundry upstairs. It waited while Dad skipped a medical appointment because the porch was icy one morning and he did not trust the steps. It followed them when the Monday aide parked down the street because the driveway was narrow. Dad's strength improved. The house did not. 2 weeks after the tour, he called me at work. Your mother says we need a second opinion. About what? The apartment? From who? You. You already have my opinion. I do. I think the house is too much for both of you. He was quiet. Your mother says you're pushing. I've done almost nothing. That's why she says you're pushing. You're waiting. I'm working, Dad. Can you come Sunday? That's my day. I know. When I arrived, the Hawthorne Commons brochure lay on the kitchen table beside a legal pad. Mom had written 2 columns, stay and go. Under stay were home, neighbors, garden, memories, space, and no carpet smell. Under go were elevator, shower, meals, less upkeep, and Leah thinks. I crossed out the last one. Mom looked hurt. You do think. My opinion is not a reason for you to move. You just told your father the house is too much. I did. You still have to decide. Dad sat at the head of the table. I want to go. Mom stared at the list. He reached across and put his hand over hers. I want to stay too, he said, but I want to go. Her eyes filled. I picked every light fixture, she said. I hated every light fixture. She laughed and cried at the same time. Dad squeezed her hand. You can pick new ones. It's a rental. Then you can complain about theirs for free. Mom covered her face. Vanessa arrived halfway through the conversation with bagels. She sat beside Mom, listened, and did not tell her what she should feel. They decided to put down a deposit on the 2-bedroom apartment. The house would have to be sold. Dad said the sentence quickly before he could lose courage. Their savings could cover the apartment and assistance for a while, but maintaining both places made no sense. Mom immediately looked at me. We'll need to figure out the move. Yes, I said. You're good at organizing. Yes. She waited. I took a bagel. I can help compare movers, I said. I'm not running the move. Mom's grief turned to irritation because irritation was easier to carry. Somebody has to. You and Dad or somebody. So is Vanessa. Vanessa swallowed a bite too fast. I can do Saturdays. We need more than Saturdays, Mom said. Then we hire help, I replied. We can't hire everyone, no, but you can hire movers. What about 43 years of things? We all sort them. Dad looked toward the cabinets as if 43 years had just leaned out. The following month became boxes. Denise took the dining room linens. Vanessa listed furniture online and discovered strangers believed every used table was worth $20. Dad sat in the den labeling tools he had not touched in years. Mom tried to send every casserole dish home with me. I don't need 12, I said. They're good dishes, then keep them. There's no cabinet space. That's why you can't keep them. Take the blue one. I already own the blue one's twin. Vanessa walked through carrying a box marked bathroom. Take it, she told me. We're never getting out of here. I took one dish. Mom smiled as though she had won something. The house sold to a retired couple who loved the garden and intended to remove the hospital bed before moving in. Mom cried after every showing and criticized each offer. Dad accepted the second one. On the night before the movers came, we ate pizza on folding chairs in the nearly empty dining room. The table was gone. The sideboard was gone. Pale rectangles marked the walls where family pictures had hung. Mom handed me a binder. What's this? Moving information. Elevator reservation, utility numbers, furniture list, the forms Patrice sent. My name was written across the front in Mom's block letters. I looked at it, then at her. You can keep the binder, I said. Her hand tightened around it. We need you tomorrow. The movers arrive at 8. Vanessa is coming at 7:30. Dad's aide will be here. I'll come after work. But you know the plan. So do you. Mom looked down at my name on the binder. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she found a pen in the box of kitchen odds and ends, drew one line through Leah, and wrote Carol underneath. The handwriting shook. She held the binder against her chest. I suppose I should read it, she said. That would help. She gave me the familiar wounded look, but she did not hand it back. She did read it. At 7:12 the next morning, Vanessa sent me a picture of Mom standing in the driveway with the binder open against the hood of her car. She wore reading glasses over her regular glasses and was pointing at something with a pen. Vanessa wrote, "Your mother has become management." I replied, "Thoughts and prayers." At 8:15, the movers had not arrived. Mom called me. "They're late." What does the binder say that they have a 30-minute arrival window? What time does the window end? 8:30. Then they're not late. They should have said 8:30. They said 8 to 8:30. That means 8. Call me at 8:31. She hung up. At 8:27, Vanessa sent, "Truck's here." She's pretending she didn't call you. I put my phone away and opened the office. The morning moved without me. That fact was both wonderful and uncomfortable. Vanessa handled the movers. Mom used her binder. Dad sat in a dining chair by the front window with his walker, directing men who had been moving furniture longer than he had been criticizing it. His aide kept him from joining them when someone carried his workbench out of the garage. At 10, Vanessa called. "Quick question. I'm at work." "I know." "Where does the blue tape go?" "What blue tape?" "The blue tape Mom put on certain boxes." "Ask Mom. She says you made the system." "I did not make a system." There was a muffled exchange. Vanessa came back. "Apparently blue means open first. Then open those first." "Okay, but there are 19. Sounds like Mom made a system. Your refusal to rescue us has become smug. I'll work on that." She laughed. "No, you won't." At noon, the couch would not fit through the apartment door. Mom called. "Tell them to angle it. I'm sure the professional movers have considered angles. They want to take the legs off." "Then let them." "What if they don't go back on? Then you'll have a very low couch." "Leah." "Mom, I'm not there." "I'm aware." "Ask the mover what he recommends. He recommends taking the legs off. Do that." She exhaled. "All right," she said. "Not fine." "All right." The legs went back on. I arrived after work carrying takeout sandwiches and expecting wreckage. The apartment was crowded with boxes, but the couch sat intact against the living room wall. Dad's recliner faced the television. The hospital bed had not come with them. Hawthorne Commons had delivered an adjustable bed that looked almost normal. Mom stood in the kitchen opening blue-taped boxes. The cabinets already held plates. "You found everything," I said. "Not the coffee maker." Vanessa pointed to a box beneath the breakfast bar. "It's in there." "How do you know? It says coffee. That box isn't blue." Then the system failed. Mom looked at me. I shrugged. Management is hard. She almost smiled. Dad called from the balcony. He sat wrapped in his pilling cardigan, looking down at the courtyard. 2 women were walking small white dogs along a path. Somebody had planted red geraniums in the beds below. "Come see this," he said. I stepped outside. The balcony held 2 chairs, exactly as Vanessa had predicted. Dad's walker fit beside him without blocking the door. "Elevator broke," he said. My stomach dropped. For 6 minutes. That isn't funny. It was a little funny. "How did you get upstairs?" I waited. The word carried more progress than his therapy reports. Inside, Mom was trying to move a bookcase by herself. Vanessa caught one end. "Where do you want it?" "Other wall." "The outlet's there." "It was against that wall in the house." "This isn't the house." Mom let go. The room went quiet. Vanessa's face softened. "We can put it there for tonight." "No." Mom touched the top shelf. "You're right." She looked around at the boxes, the carpet, the unfamiliar rectangle of evening light. "This isn't the house." Dad came in from the balcony. "No," he said, "it isn't." He held out his right hand. Mom took it. For once, nobody tried to improve the moment by speaking. The first week was difficult in small, relentless ways. Mom could not find the scissors. Dad hated the dining room coffee. The bedroom light switch was outside the place his hand expected it to be. Their old neighbors brought a plant that immediately shed dirt onto the carpet Mom already disliked. But Dad could reach the bathroom without crossing a rug. He could take the elevator downstairs for therapy. If Mom needed help, she pressed a button instead of calling a daughter and disguising the request as a crisis. She still called us. The difference was that sometimes she called to talk. On my first Thursday visit, Mom said, "We need you to hang the pictures." I took off my coat. "Tonight?" "I thought you might." "I can hang 3. We can do the rest Sunday." She looked toward the box beside the wall. "All right." We chose the anniversary portrait, a picture of Dad holding a fish he had not caught, and one of Vanessa and me at Mom's 60th birthday. In the photo, Vanessa had one arm around Mom. I stood on the other side holding the cake. Mom handed me a hammer. "You were always good at making things level," she said. "I own a level." "I know." She sat on the couch while I measured. Dad watched basketball with the volume too high. After a while, Mom said, "I thought Vanessa needed more encouragement. I kept the level against the frame. She was sensitive. She still is. You weren't." "I was." Mom looked at my back. "You never showed it." "I showed it." "You called it jealousy." The basketball announcer shouted over a replay. Dad lowered the volume without being asked. Mom folded her hands in her lap. "I thought you were stronger," she said. "That was convenient." "Yes." The answer made me turn. She looked smaller on the couch, but not weak. Mom had never been weak. That was another story our family told because it allowed everyone to mistake her fear for helplessness. "I protected Vanessa," she said. "I trusted you. You trusted me to handle what protecting her cost." Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. "I suppose I did." The anniversary portrait tilted slightly. I corrected it. "I don't know how to fix that," she said. "You don't get to fix the past." "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Ask. I do ask. You announce. You hint. You tell me what a good daughter would do and wait for me to volunteer. That's asking." "No." "Asking allows no." She considered this with visible dislike. "Will you hang the rest of the pictures Sunday?" she asked. "Yes, and if you couldn't?" I would say no. She nodded. It was not an apology. It was harder for her than an apology. Vanessa's apology came in pieces. She stopped calling her shifts helping Leah and began calling them visiting Dad. When she needed to change a Monday, she arranged for Friday's aide to stay late, paid the extra hours herself, and told us after it was done. She also began hearing Mom differently. One evening, I arrived while Mom was telling Aunt Denise on the phone that Vanessa had managed the entire move. Vanessa was unpacking glasses. "No, I didn't," she said loudly. "The movers moved us. Mom used the binder. Dad supervised. I found the coffee. Mom covered the phone. I'm trying to compliment you. Then compliment me for something I did." I stood in the doorway. Vanessa saw me and rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Dad improved enough to stop using the gate belt in the apartment. He kept the walker. The first time he crossed the lobby with a cane, Mom cried and pretended she had something in her eye. He called me that night. Walked to dinner. I heard. "Your mother tell you?" Vanessa sent video. Did I look fast? No. Camera angle. Definitely. He was quiet for a moment. "You know you can come more than Thursday and Sunday," he said. "I know." "That wasn't an assignment." "I know, just saying. I might come Tuesday. Your mother has a thing Tuesday." "What thing?" "Flower arranging." I waited for the punchline. She signed up. Voluntarily? Claimed she was pressured. By whom? A woman named Phyllis with a walker. Terrifying. Dad laughed. "I'm glad you moved," I said. He took a breath. "Me too." Mom did not say those words for months. She said the elevator was convenient. She said the shower was sensible. She said the woman across the hall knew nothing about proper recycling. Approval arrived disguised as complaints she intended to keep making for years. The house closing went through. Dad gave away most of his tools and kept one red toolbox beneath the guest room bed. Mom saved 6 casserole dishes, including the blue one I had refused twice. The extra care hours gradually decreased. The support did not disappear. It changed shape. Dad scheduled assistants for showers. Mom slept in their bed. Vanessa visited Monday evenings because she wanted to, though she remained allergic to anything before 9 in the morning. I stopped going every Thursday. The first week I skipped, Mom called at 6. "Are you coming?" "No, you always come Thursday." "I told you Sunday I had dinner with Ray and the office staff." "Oh, I forgot." A pause. "Do you need something?" I asked. "No. Your father wanted to show you his cane. I'll see it Sunday." "All right." She did not call back. By December, the apartment looked inhabited. Mom had replaced the beige curtains with blue ones and complained until maintenance let her put planters on the balcony. Dad knew everyone who watched basketball in the lobby. Vanessa had learned to make meatloaf badly. I had learned that an unanswered family text did not always become an ambulance. We had dinner in the apartment the Sunday before Christmas. Mom cooked enough food for 12 people, though there were 4 of us. Dad carved the roast from a chair. Vanessa brought potatoes with too much garlic and defended them as modern. Afterward, I carried my plate to the sink. Mom began, "Leah, you can." She stopped. Vanessa looked up from the table. Mom tried again. "Would you help with the dishes?" "No," I said. "I'm leaving." The old hurt flashed across her face. It had not vanished. Neither had my reflex to erase it. Then Vanessa stood and gathered the plates. "I've got them." Mom looked at her. "You don't load the dishwasher correctly. Nobody loads it correctly according to you." "That is not true." Dad raised his cane from the recliner. "I do. You put knives point up, so they get clean. That is attempted murder." Vanessa laughed and carried the plates into the kitchen. Mom followed, still explaining silverware safety. Dad looked at me. "You don't have to go yet." "I know. That was the difference." I put on my coat. He opened his arms, and I bent to hug him. He held on for a moment, then let me go without adding a request. Mom came out of the kitchen, drying her hands. "Call when you get home," she said. "I will." She glanced toward the dishes, then back at me. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Merry Christmas, Mom." I left while the kitchen was still messy. In the parking lot, blue curtains glowed on the 3rd floor. Through the window, Vanessa moved past carrying a dish towel. Mom followed her. Dad raised one hand from his chair when he saw me looking up. I waved and got into my car. My phone stayed silent on the drive home.